where I'm at right now, I'd say, you do it, I'll watch, and I'll drink my beer.
That would honestly be awesome. That would be a challenge in and of itself to just hang out with Billy while he's drunk over the course of a baseball game.
Absolutely. Most
people would not survive that challenge.
Many have and enjoyed it.
It doesn't sound like a fun challenge.
But welcome back to Macro Dosing. I'm filling in for PFT because he's late. Ooh, we can fuck with him. He's late. I could fuck with him.
He's dealing with a couple things right now.
Oh shit, yeah. Damn, I forgot about that. Damn. He'll be joining us shortly. So we got everybody in studio. I am remote. Got a good show lineup for you today. I have to say this because I'm so fucking excited. Black Mirror is back in June.
Yes.
Really?
Just announced today. Oh my God, I'm fucking hype. I don't think you understand how this is, to me, the best television series that has ever been. I'm talking about The Wire, The Dragon Show, Game of Thrones, whatever. You name it, Black Mirror's killing all that shit. I'm so fucking hype about this, dog.
I do love that show. I hadn't seen this. That's exciting.
Black Mirror was one of the first shows that I smoked weed and tweaked out because I was watching it and it scared me so bad.
Which one? What episode did you say?
I was binging it and this was probably one of the last times I ever smoked weed. I took an edible and then I was watching all these episodes in a row and then just it hit me halfway through and I was like, holy fuck, I am so scared right now. I forget which one it was exactly. I was like,
edibles come and give you that uppercut in the third round without you expecting it.
Yeah.
I can't do edibles, man, but I'm so excited, man. I can't contain myself. This is how Big T feels when it's football time in Tennessee. I think
correct.
This is how I feel about Black Mirror, bro. Holy shit.
What are your 3 favorite episodes?
Okay. That's hard to do. Because there was literally not an episode I didn't enjoy. But I think the one where I don't know the name of it, but the one where they called the other people roaches and they got injected with this thing that made them see poor people basically as like they had a disease or something like that. And so they were exterminating them. Thinking that they were cleansing them, but it was just because they had a genetic disease or something like that was inherited or something like that. That one, I think I'd have to go with the one where I think it was the very first one where you can rewind shit that you see.
The first one is the Prime Minister fucking the pig.
Oh, is it? Okay, so that's not
because everybody always said, if you're gonna watch the show, don't watch it in order. Don't watch the first one first. Yeah. I was like, well, I'm absolutely doing that now. And
it was a while. I enjoyed that episode though.
It's a good episode.
Yeah. No, this one was he caught a shorty cheating because you can record shit that you see. And so I
remember that one, yeah.
That one was dope as shit.
I like the dating app one.
Yeah, White Bear.
That was fire too.
That one.
White Bear was my favorite.
White Christmas, the John Hamm.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the I would say that's my top 3. Yeah, that motherfucker.
That one's really good. It's a great show.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil all the twists because a lot of them have really great twists. But
there's a new season coming out. Spoil that shit.
They've been out for 5 years.
Okay. White Bear's insane where you just are following this person and thinking that she's getting totally harassed and hunted down by these sadistic predator people, and you think she's in this post-apocalyptic world, and then at the end it's revealed that they just wipe her memory every morning and that she was an accomplice to a child murder.
Yeah,
and they just hunt her every day.
That's a great punishment.
Yeah. That episode's insane.
Yeah.
Just live the rest of your life in terror every day.
They
but you
forget
don't know
it.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and the Starfleet one, I forgot.
Yes.
Starfleet one. That shit is so fired up. Because I'm a Trekkie anyway. And so that could have went bad, but they did so well, dog. Where like they keep somebody's DNA. That creepy dude was keeping somebody's DNA and recreating them inside of his little world. That shit is such a fire concept, though. It's gonna be tough though, because it's such a good show, and it's such like I've never heard anybody say I don't like Black Mirror. And if anybody does say that, just kind of keep away from them. But they have such a tall task in like recreating the magic that I almost want to keep my expectations kind of low, because that's how fire. Even the one with Miley Cyrus, PFT's girl, like that shit was fire too. And I like how they stayed away from like known celebrities too. But I don't know, man. I'm fucking hyped about that shit, bro.
Trailer looks pretty good. I can't hear it, but I can see it.
Yeah, man. Hype about that. Anything else got fucking gee, okay, so don't drink. Does anybody have anything else going on? Jesus Christ. I went and got a little lit last night. And that's my punishment. This is the worst shit ever. It's like a gift and a curse. I don't get hangovers. I don't know if I've said that on this show before, but I don't get hangovers. I've never gotten hungover. I just wake up drunk. Like that's my punishment for drinking too much, is just waking up drunk. And this is like a gift and a curse. It's great, but it's shit.
I was going to say,
doesn't
which would
hit you like later in the day?
No.
Which would you rather have?
I would rather have hangovers because there's no deterrent for me drinking. Like the only deterrent is like, oh, I did something stupid. Like that's the only, and I've really never done anything that stupid, you know, like nothing crazy, like to cost me like legally or anything like that. I just usually, you know, drunk text or, you know, call people, like that kind of shit. But like, there's nothing to stop me from drinking other than like, maybe I'll die later on in life because of it. But it's just, I don't know. I would like a deterrent.
But even in terms of the next day, I would almost, if you could pick, like you wake up still drunk or you just have like a headache, I would pick the latter.
The headache?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. No, I'm saying I wish I did have a deterrent. Like right. I don't have, like when people are like, oh, I'm never drinking again. I'm just like, I just
no, but
wake up drunk.
You're saying it's no deterrent. I'm saying waking up still drunk is just as bad, if not worse, as just having a hangover.
No, that's
no, you're crazy.
I wouldn't want that.
No, that's sneaky, really dangerous when you drive to work the next morning. No, this was similar to Arian.
You know?
Yeah.
Similar to Arian. I think Arian doesn't understand that the hangover just hits later in the day, but you're just better prepared for it by hydrating and stuff.
How you gonna tell me I don't understand? Nigga, I don't get hangovers. What do you mean?
So like you're drunk right now.
Take his word for it.
You're drunk right now, right? But
yes.
what happens when the alcohol leaves your system?
I'm not drunk anymore.
Yeah, but there's zero withdrawals.
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't get hangovers. I've been drinking a very long time, Billy. It's just I don't know what it is. Maybe I just eat or drink water during, but I just don't like when people are like, oh, I just don't feel that. I just wake up a little drunk.
So there's multiple facets of a hangover. There's the physical symptoms, the pain, and then there's usually a psychological symptom. Like
what's the psychological
Some
symptom?
people just get psychologically hungover where like they just feel anxious. Where it all disappears and then they get hit with a bout of anxiety. And because it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, like I'm not drunk anymore, and I have like my
like on some alcoholic shit, like
no, not some alcoholic shit. Like that's like anxiety. Like some people, like for me, physically I don't feel hungover, but like when I don't get a headache, I do feel dehydrated, but it's more usually I'm like, oh shit, it's Sunday, like what like I don't know, like anxiety. Like your mind's racing?
No, I get anxiety when I fly and I drink. But I think that has more to do with the flying.
Are you drinking while flying?
Usually before.
Yeah.
So like I'm talking about like if I drank last night, if I had a flight today, that'll give me anxiety.
Yeah. I like to drink before flights just so I sleep.
Yeah,
that's
I don't like flights. I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened, but like, cause I flew all the time. Like, I'm talking. I mean, shit. I had to fly all across the country for like games and stuff like that. My entire life, business, all this stuff. Like 2018, I think it was. All of a sudden, I got mad nerves on planes. I mean, I'm not afraid of heights. I don't know what it is, but like every single little bump in turbulence, I get like the biggest like gut wrenching, and I've never been like that before. I was literally the cat. Like, so like one time I was on a plane. This was before this happened. One time I was on a plane, and there's this lady, and she's having a full on panic attack. She's going like sitting there panting, like holding her seat, like, and she keeps lifting the window up, and I like, and we were going through like a storm, so we were kind of going like that. But I just never, it never bothered me. I was literally like, hey, just set your window down. It's gonna be okay. I was comforting like that. But like now, I'm her, and I don't know what happened.
Have you ever flown like to Europe? Like just across the ocean? Okay, so yeah. Because I'm going to London this summer, and I'm generally pretty good on planes, but I'm concerned about just ocean for 7 hours.
You're more likely to die in a car than in a plane.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a comforting thought.
It's just when I can see land outside, I'm like, oh, I know where we are. We're in the U.S. But when you just look out and it's just water as far as you can see,
I think they're
concerned about that.
Water landings might be safer on impact. I don't quote me on that.
Okay, and then what?
Well, then that's your problem. Like swimming.
That can't be true. I mean, you could be right, but that can't be true. Water.
That makes sense to me.
Like the impact. The impact might.
Are you talking like
no? If you're falling from far up, it's like hitting concrete
without the wheels. You're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you were to crash land on land or on water.
Better.
Well, I don't know enough about.
I'm sure both of them are really bad.
Okay, so you're less likely to drown on land. Open sea. Okay.
Yeah, that checks out.
Did you have to look that up?
No, but we know that. But the thing is,
we're establishing a baseline of facts.
If you can swim,
let's go. We go deeper from here.
This is like when you take a lie detector. Like, what's your name? What's your birthday? We're establishing the baseline first.
Less likely to drown on land. Give me more.
Airplanes are designed so that a water landing won't cause immediate harm to passengers. That's what I was getting at. Immediate harm. You might drown if you're unconscious, but I feel like hitting the water, like you're not going to die on impact as much because like if you hit a building on land or like.
But don't people say if you come at water fast enough, it's like hitting concrete?
Yeah, but not when you're coming from it vertically from this like horizontally.
Bro, I don't know.
You know what? We can move on to this. How lit are planes after a game? Like, let's say you win a game.
after impact, I'm pretty lit, though.
And like after a game, the team gets on the team plane or however it works. Like, are you guys like partying on the plane? Like those Kirk Cousins.
After like a week 6 win?
Yeah, those Kirk Cousin videos of him, like Kurt Cobain's videos, like they seem pretty hype.
Kurt Cobain's videos?
It's hell of a pivot, but those are some of the funner things. That's like if people ask me if I missed something about me playing, it's absolutely that. Plane rides, if you win, everybody turned up. Everybody, coaches, everybody drinking on a plane. People back there gambling. No seatbelts. Everybody's seat is reclined back. It's some of the funnest shit in the world. Absolutely. And one of the homies, I ain't gonna name him, but one of the homies used to have, like he called it Polish vodka. I think it was Polish, something like that. But it was like this, like straight from the land type. I don't even know if this is the case. He might have been lying, but like we used to drink that shit, and it was just great times, absolute great times. Now, if you lose, it's awful. It's horrible. What's so funny back there? We just lost it. I'm like, all right, bro. World is ending. Lost the game.
Was there the big gamble where like you pack stuff for the plane, and then it was like if you didn't win, you had all this stuff in your bag or something that you just like couldn't really. You could use it, but not in a party type way.
Nah, I do still got it. I mean, for the most part, like, we grown men. You know what I'm saying? Like they would look down on you, like enjoying yourself after a loss. But we still grown men, man.
Because in college, we used to take a 7-hour bus trip to play one team in our conference in Maine, and it was always a big gamble. Like, okay, we're gonna bring stuff for the bus ride, but if we lose, it's gonna be 9 hours of us like. Not being able to like we weren't allowed to anyway, but there'd be a blind eye turned if we had like nips in our gear bags.
You'd bring nips to your D3 football game?
Well, coming back on the bus.
Right.
That was a hell of a little slight there, Maddie.
I just didn't think
we were in a bus for 7 hours.
You're the queen of them slight handed. You be throwing a little
That's an
shade.
interesting. Like
It's a Saturday, and we are basically our whole day is football, and then coming back from the game that ends at 5, we wouldn't get back to campus till like
would
1
you just go
a.m.
straight out?
Yeah, but we'd also like just like be sipping nips, like listening to music in the back of the bus. Like the coaches wouldn't know we were drinking, but like we were still
You're
trying
like
to
a high
have,
schooler trying to sneak alcohol.
yeah, but we were still trying to have a fun time on our like
Yeah.
one night of the week we're allowed off.
I was gonna say, is that the one night? Was that the
Yeah.
one night a week you were allowed to drink?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So yeah, but then we'd sometimes lose. Like if you actually we never lost a main game.
Definitely not allowed to drink it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we would lose.
Actually, no, we never lost a main game. But it's like it doesn't really change.
Still
Was
had
it-
fun.
was it- I remember vividly, dog. That that time like after spring ball, where they just leave you alone. And I remember thinking like, yo, I could have so good of grades if I didn't have to play football. Like there's just so much time, and I just didn't have. I didn't realize how much time like regular students had. But like we have no time as football players, and I just remember thinking like, yo, I could get straight A's with all this fucking time. You don't remember that?
No, I remember that because once I stopped playing football. I mean, the summer is a different thing because you're usually like working some type of job, but you're training the whole time. That feeling of having absolutely zero structure at all was something that I like. It got me into trouble in my professional life. Like going from
Really?
like, yeah. I mean, I literally ended up having so much time when we like, especially outside of football season. It was like, what the fuck? And
That's
that
when
was
you was filling up condoms with water.
no.
Aquarium.
Yeah, aquarium
No,
size.
this was after college. This is like when I finally was like, okay.
I would like to circle back to that.
Yeah.
Do you want to rescind that?
I will send you. Have you ever filled up a condom with water?
He's sticking to his guns.
I mean, it's not an aquarium. It's more of a
you said
fish
10
bowl.
gallons. You
It's
said
more of
10
like a
gallons.
fish bowl.
Billy, you said 10 gallons.
Okay, it was a lot of it was a lot of water. There was a little, embellishment there, but it
Okay,
seemed
all
it
right.
seemed like can you judge how much water you're looking at? Like how much is
I can
absolutely.
How much is this?
Like a
I would
liter?
say that's around a liter. Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? It's
1
How much
liter.
is it?
Yeah,
Nailed
Oh
it.
Okay.
shit! Fucking unreal. I can see 10 gallons. And if you can fit 10 gallons in a condom, bro, like that's great marketing. Actually, they would have used that shit.
I saw. Just Google. I'm gonna find a video of condom water balloon because they're huge. It's actually insane.
Do you know how big 10 gallons is, bro?
I know how I kept fish and multiple animals. I know 10 gallons was a stretch. I know it was embellishment, but it was like it's a lot of water.
He goes, Arian, don't fuck with me. I have aquatic animals at home.
Yeah.
You don't think I kept frogs in a 10-gallon tank? Like, look at this.
Billy
Could have just
Exotica.
kept him in a condom instead.
Yeah, dude, I wasted so much money on that
That
aquarium.
would be little goldfish swimming around in a condom.
I sent
Like
sent
how
a-
you get it from the fair and it's in that plastic bag. You just get it in a condom.
dude. I mean, like this,
Oh, it's like a ribbed condom.
like this. I mean, this condom like
my
filled.
God.
It filled. It,
Wait, that
it's
is
huge. Yeah,
huge.
Mackenzie, it fills up the
Okay,
whole
it's not
sink
10
basin.
gallons.
Wait, this is the
though.
picture you were talking about?
It fills up the whole sink basin.
That's 2 to 3 gallons.
Okay, whatever.
There's no way
But
that's
that
10
is
gallons.
pretty big.
I come on, like I said, aquarium. Aquariums come in all shapes and sizes. I did not like. It's big. Whatever. Why are we taking like my like?
No. See, yo, you said aquarium. I called you out on that, and then you said it was like 10 gallons, and you doubled down, and now you're
I'm
tripling
just-
down.
No, I'm not tripling down. It's like, why are we really holding me accountable for a measurement I thrown out for how much water's in a condom? Like, if I don't say the exact
That's such a wild-
specifications,
It's just
I'm
just
a
you said
wild
an
liar.
It's a
aquarium's
wild
worth.
reference. Yeah, it's a wild
it
reference. Like, why?
seems like a shit ton of water.
Also, I want to clip the part that just says, "Why are we holding me accountable?"
Oh yeah, just have it looped.
Yeah.
Why are we holding me accountable? Why are we holding
Like-
me accountable? Just loop that shit.
Like, I'm literally talking about filling up a condom with water. Why does anything I say after that have to be the
Have
exact?
any merit?
Like
You
if
know
I
what?
was like, if I was
You're
like,
right.
like.
That's
If I was
self-awareness.
on like
That's-
a,
yeah, that's
if
true.
I was on trial, right, and it was like you asked me something serious, like how much did you like? If I'm getting pulled over and a cop asked me how much I had to drink that night, like, I'm gonna give a real answer. When I'm talking about filling up water, but like condoms with water, like, come on, That's on you guys for having a problem with my embellishment
No.
of that story.
No, it's not.
Anyway, the whole
No,
point is
it's
if
not.
you threw one of those out a window, it could seriously hurt somebody 2 stories down. That was my only
That's
point.
true.
That was my
Yeah,
only
you could
point.
really fuck somebody up with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had this I think I said this before, but we had this we were actually wild and I don't think of it. We had this like BB gun fight in Tennessee. We literally it was like in the like 2 or 3 in the morning we would go to what is that shit called? I think it's the quad. I don't know what the fuck it's called. Like in the middle of those big buildings, like in main campus.
You talking about Prez Court?
Yeah.
Also,
So
because we're
met
holding
up-
people accountable, were they airsoft guns or BB guns? Because there's
You're right. Airsoft.
Airsoft. Because
Yeah.
BB guns
Say-
are
say, while we're
dangerous.
holding
You're not
people
going to
accountable.
slip a thing by this guy now.
Because you could have killed
I love
somebody
it.
with those BB guns.
Yeah, BB guns.
Was it 2 a.m. or 2:05?
Yeah. Was it the quad? Was it the Tennessee campus?
No, I love this. New Billy, who this? Let's do
But,
it,
like,
Billy.
come
I'm
on.
all for it. Call me out. I love being corrected. It's the funnest shit in the world. Now we learned something.
What happened? What happened with the BB guns?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we're waiting on
The
you.
airsoft.
I mean, it's not that even interesting, but we used to we would go like it was like 2:05 a.m. and we would go in the middle of the little court area and we would just let off on each other. We have like these. It was like a paintball, like 2 teams and shit. It was really fun. We'd invite the females and it was fun as shit. But then somebody snitched and we had a team meeting about it.
Yeah, that
Couldn't do it anymore.
sucks.
Yeah,
When people
it was fun.
snitch.
One of the funner things that happened in college. College was wild, man. College was wild,
We got one snow day in the time I was a student at UT, and it was like real snow. It was like 3 or 4 inches, and there was a massive snowball fight in Prez Court. It was the coolest shit ever.
Oh, snowball fight.
Everybody, because Prez Court, it was all the freshman dorms, so everybody came out and was just outside hurling snowballs. It was awesome.
Now,
Love to see it.
my college hadn't had a snow day in 50 years, and they prided themselves.
So did mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like one of those things where like 3 feet of snow on the ground. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're going to class.
They would there would be so much snow. They would like shut down like the
Snow.
staircases on campus, but they wouldn't cancel class.
Yeah.
Like they would just like caution it off and be like, no, this is too dangerous. But like
Yeah.
class was still on.
It was cool. People made gigantic dicks in the snow, igloos, giant snowmen, and then at night, like all like the NARPs that built these like artistic snow pieces, we just like be drunk and just destroy them, just because we were angry. for
What
no
a dick
reason.
move. Yeah, that's a dick move.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Are you the type to go kick over sandcastles and shit?
No, because that's in the daylight.
Okay.
Only does it under the cover of nightfall.
No one can catch him.
Look, when I don't know, when you're locked in the middle of the woods and you're just getting cabin fever and you're just like literally like 60 dudes like on a football team and you just all go drink at the football house and then you leave, go back to your dorm and you just see gigantic snowmen, like you're going to tackle them.
Completely agree.
Okay. Why were you locked in the middle of the woods?
That's a long story.
We're here for it, man.
I was isolated in the middle of Northwest Massachusetts, which, if you know Massachusetts, is very far from Boston, and that's what people mostly consider Massachusetts.
In the what mountain range is that?
The Adirondacks.
Adirondacks.
There are no restaurants
No, the
or
Berkshires.
anything.
The Berkshires.
Yeah, Berkshires.
There was no restaurants.
What?
I'm
there,
looking.
There was no bars, no restaurants.
Wasn't there like one bar that
There was
closed
one
during COVID?
bar. Yeah, there was one bar that closed
Oh,
during COVID,
yeah.
and that bar was where all the professors went. And your
Oh, so you
coaches.
couldn't even go to it?
Yeah, so it was all house parties, and they would all get shut down. So the only place we could all congregate was at the football house, and it was just.
Did you live at the football house?
I did senior year.
I'm
Wait,
seeing
what is
some
the
good
football
spots.
Where,
Like the off-campus house where all the football players.
Also, you can't
all
eat
the cool
out.
football players would live, probably.
Is this like a known thing, or am I fucking up, or is this just your school?
just our school because we had no
Okay.
Greek life. But
Yeah, mine was like that too.
yeah, it's like
Okay.
it's niche D3 football.
Yes, yeah,
liberal
it is.
arts culture.
Yeah.
Yep.
Miami, Miami had that
Where'd you
because
go
we were
to
all bad at
school,
sports.
Mackenzie, where'd you go to school?
I went to Ithaca College.
which is in Ithaca, New York. Like, you know, Cornell.
Yeah.
It's in the same town as Cornell.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm unaware of the football house.
How insane is Cortica?
Oh, it's so fun. It was at Yankee Stadium this year.
I know, which sucks because then there isn't the frat row riots because they get everything.
Oh,
off
yeah, they
campus.
do. Yeah.
I was thinking for my I wanted to do a video at Cortica and just like get into the mosh pit. Because
That would be fun.
It's insane.
Yeah, I think they did it at MetLife actually a couple years ago, and then they did it at Yankee Stadium this year, but they probably won't have it somewhere else.
I definitely know what we're talking about, but for people who may not know what we're talking about, what would you guys could you describe? Because I totally know, but if someone didn't, know.
That's true.
Cortica's the fake biggest little game in America.
Yeah.
The real one is Williams
versus
Amherst.
Amherst.
But Cortica gets a little rowdier.
It's Ithaca College versus SUNY Cortland. They're like 30 minutes away from each other, and it's like I think Sports Illustrated called it like the biggest little game in the country, and it's like a D3 football game, but it's like the only game because it's D3, so it's like we're not tailgating and like going to the games every week, but that's like the biggest game. Like that's a D1 game in our eyes.
Got it. And they played it at Yankee Stadium.
They played it at
They
played at Yankee Stadium this year. It was very exciting. Both teams were undefeated.
Yeah, the reason
Ithaca won.
The reason they had to play it at Yankee Stadium because in years past there would be gigantic riots during the game on like houses would burn down.
I think that was at Cortland because that never happened at Ithaca.
Yeah, it was 100%
Could never.
Cortland. But Williams Amherst is the real biggest little game in America. I mean, ESPN only showed up to one D3 football game, and it was Williams Amherst.
No, Williams Amherst is the shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you played in the Williams Amherst game, I'm leaning. You're a pretty big deal.
Eefs up.
Someone said.
Is that where you played?
Yeah.
Eefs up.
Gotcha.
Let's go Ephraim's.
What is it?
Ephraim.
It's a whole. Oh my god, it's the weirdest. Let's get into some D3 mascots.
Well, Ithaca's the Bombers.
Well, these are the lamest mascots you ever heard. There's
The Nescak has some bad ones.
Ephraim Williams.
Ephraim's.
No, Ephraim Williams. The mascot is the name of the guy who founded the college.
But it's a cow.
No, Ephraim Williams is the guy who founded the college.
But your mascot is a cow.
Yeah, our mascot's a cow, but the cow has nothing to do with Ephraim Williams.
Oh.
So a purple cow has nothing to do.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the lamest thing. And then there was the Lord Jeffs, and Lord Jeff founded Amherst. So they were the Lord Jeffs until they found out that Lord Jeff had been giving the Native Americans smallpox blankets, and he got canceled.
So
and
now it's Amherst.
Now they're the Mammoths.
Billy, what years were you in college?
17.
I graduated in 21.
Okay, so I was right before you got there. I was going to blame this on you, but it looks like Amherst had their most success ever in the series.
Yeah,
11 to 16, 7 wins in a row.
We brought
6
it back.
wins in a row.
We brought it back.
That's good.
Well, I mean, the Eefs went undefeated and beat Amherst.
Eefs up.
Eefs up.
That's good. That's the D3 football power hour.
Yeah. So,
And that's the Williams minute that we have going on right here.
I mean, Ivy League football. It's funny because technically the NESCAC isn't in the NCAA because like they don't have booster. Like,
is it NAIA?
So they don't qualify for the playoff, and because of that, there's no drug testing, and you can also get jobs from alumni.
Can you not do that? And wait, Arian, could you not have gotten a job from
Wait,
the
yeah,
Tennessee
what
one?
is that you're talking about?
Under old rules.
What's that? What do you mean?
Like technically,
while you're in school,
like Arian, remember how like strict the NCAA used to be about boosters and stuff? So like you weren't allowed to work.
Yeah, you couldn't have a job.
Yeah, you couldn't have a job.
I think like period though.
Yeah.
But after,
so,
like post grad, could you?
Post grad, you could.
That's what I mean.
But you could get an
NCAA.
internship in school with an alumni or something. Like it's not that strict with D3, but like still. That's why like the Ivy League also isn't playoff eligible for the FCS, but they can play out of conference games, but it's because they want.
Oh, but they have the Ivy League championship.
Yeah, it's so that they can work for alumni at some like investment bank like over the summer and not get in trouble with the NCAA.
I never knew.
Yeah,
that was
also they like think that their academic standards are so high when in reality Ivy League recruits like. There's a couple Ivy League recruits that like have just the same like there's different bands in the Ivy League.
Right. Didn't you explain this a couple weeks ago? Like the
Yeah.
bands.
Yeah.
The band, like, so if you went to Harvard, it doesn't mean like if you were a low band recruit, like you didn't have insane grades. You were just like the best football recruit in the class, and they're afforded a certain amount. Whereas like some guys are like total nerds.
Can I ask a question about that?
It's like Prop 48.
Oh, yeah, not familiar.
So Prop 48 was like where when dudes couldn't make the grades for I think it's just in California schools if I'm not mistaken, but you couldn't make the grades for college, and they Prop 48 is you to let you in. I could be incorrect about the state though. Hold on, let me see.
But I have a question. So if you were a low band, that meant you have like not as good grades to get in Harvard.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go to an Ivy League school and be an athlete if you weren't Ivy League smart? Obviously I recognize
for
what
the
a great
jobs,
education it is. I just feel like it's hard enough to be a Ivy League student, let alone an Ivy League student athlete.
No, some of those schools are so fucking easy. There's like idiots I know that went to a couple of them for football and other sports.
What do they call it? Grade
They were low band recruits and they had better grades. They had like straight A's, and it was like, yeah, Harvard's easy. I was like, what?
What do they call it when it's like Harvard versus BU? Like BU's like it's like grade something.
Like
where
there's
they, prop up their grades, so like everyone gets straight A's at Harvard or something.
Oh, grade inflation.
Inflation, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
And then like grade deflation, like BU or something.
Yeah. So like I don't know. So some of these kids would go like you could take there's gut courses at Harvard, and you could maintain a high GPA at Harvard if you're not like trying to be like
an astronaut.
Yeah, or some crazy. I don't know what their craziest like applied physics or some shit. Like you could like get a liberal arts degree at Harvard and take a bunch of gut courses and come out with a 4.0 and then get hired by like
because you had a 4.0
like some
Harvard.
insane investment bank. But
We're doing a lot of niche Northeast
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
yeah,
What a finesse though.
it is.
You know?
It is.
No,
What a
yeah.
finesse.
Everyone was trying to do it.
I just feel like if you were low band and you were that good, you would want to go somewhere else.
That's why. Well, the thing is, like the North, like why there's not that many good football players coming out of the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Like because the Ivy Leagues all recruit the Northeast, and you're like, well, go to the NFL. Like they'll find me if I go to an Ivy League, and like guarantee I get a good job and make a lot of money out of
that's
college,
true.
or like go somewhere else, maybe not make the NFL. So like that's the discrepancy of like why there's not so much Northeastern football powerhouses.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of the Ivy League schools are pretty good at basketball, though.
I mean, Princeton this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harvard's usually good. Yale's usually good.
But that's because it's a much smaller recruiting pool, so like they can get way more low band recruits for the percentage of their team.
Tennessee just got a transfer from Harvard. He gets to go the Harvard of the South now.
I always looked at Harvard like Hogwarts. They have similar uniforms.
Yeah.
In my head. Yeah. I don't know.
Just old
Real
and
real up.
very, very simple.
Yeah. Just real
Gryffindor specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've never even seen Harry Potter. I've seen when they play that, what is it?
Quidditch.
When they play that shit, they dress up. I've seen that. I've seen clips of that. So I need to watch Harry Potter. It's not that I don't like, I have nothing against it. It's just every time I've tried to, I fell asleep. I think I've said that before, but it's like, I can't stay awake. And it's not because it's bad. It's just, unluckily, I have just watched it when I've been tired every single time. I think I've tried like 4 or 5 different times, and I fell asleep every single time.
Yeah, it doesn't
But I
do
need
it
to
for
get
me.
into
It's
I
fine.
want to like it though. I want to like it. I have them all because my kids like it, but I need to crack that safe. I need to do that.
Like who grew up reading the books?
I think I read a couple of them when I was a kid just to go into school and show people that I was reading them because it was like a flex at the time if you could read Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm reading this shit. Like, fuck you guys. But I don't recall like enjoying them.
I think we all were of the last like generation that like read hardback books. And like, remember when people would like bring books to school?
I'm sure
like,
kids still do that.
No, but like take this like big ass Harry Potter book out and slam it down. I was like, oh shit, that's a long ass book.
No,
Like,
my daughter's an avid reader.
Not
She's
just on
13.
the iPad. Still uses
No,
paper
she
books.
actually uses books.
Oh,
We
nice.
read books. We read books together. Yeah, she's at her little crew. Actually, all of them like to read, and I think kids still read, man.
I don't know. I don't know how technologically, like, I guess because I'm not around kids that age anymore. I just see the kids on their iPads and phones at like restaurants and shit.
Did you ever like bring a book to friendlies to
I-
whip out?
I used to read Aragon.
To be
And
be at
Eldest.
Chili's with a fucking
Yeah,
encyclopedia.
no. Billy went down and took his Central Park walk by himself.
I would
At
sit
8 years
in
old.
his trench coat.
Yeah, I'd sit on a park bench and read my books.
He had his loafers.
Feed the
to-
birds.
I'd
Feeding
also,
the pigeons.
I also used to have a fedora.
No, you didn't.
Fedora with this trench coat and loafers. I was like,
Did you actually have a fedora?
Well, I dressed like Sherlock Holmes. I had a pipe too. I used to go stroll in the park.
Nice cap.
No, it's cap. That's all cap.
That's so funny though.
No, I used
Big
to just.
T,
Yeah.
what you got for us, man? You teed off about anything?
Oh, I had one the other day, and I was ready on Tuesday, and we didn't do it, and now I don't remember what it was. Hang on. I may
Shame.
have written it down.
Love that. That means it's a good one.
I usually do. No, I didn't. Hang on.
Have y'all seen? While he's looking for that, have y'all seen the trailer for The Little Mermaid?
I didn't see the trailer. I just saw that like still of all of the mermaids, and it looks really bad.
I just
It's
saw
com-
that.
it's coming.
I just
I'm
saw that
excited
people
for
were
it.
pissed about the lyrics.
Oh, Kelly Keegs was mad
Yeah,
because they
that's-
changed the lyrics.
I mean, oh hey, look who joined us.
Hold
Hey.
on, he's connecting. Oh, audio.
There you go.
Hello.
Hey PFT.
Hey guys, what's up?
Oh awesome.
What up, dog?
How are you?
My bad.
No worries.
That's on me. I thought that we were going at 2. I got my times all sorts of mixed up, but good to see you guys.
Hello. We're just
Likewise,
getting
my
into teed
brother.
off.
No, I couldn't find
okay.
it. I thought I had one, and now I can't. I'll remember it as soon as we're done.
Tucker Carlson got fired.
Oh yeah.
Don Lemon.
I don't care. No, that was good. That was teed up.
I'm beat off about something. I'm
He said
beat
that's
off.
teed up.
All right, beat me off, Billy.
I'm beat off as fuck.
Beat
you
me
s-
off, Billy.
I was getting beat off. So I think he got fired because he was saying that all the news networks were totally dictated by their advertisers. Did you not? He was literally going off about that like the day before. Like the stuff that I was saying that you all were saying I was crazy. He was saying,
Well,
that
you were
all
very
news networks-
specific
No, bro.
in
all
what you were
news
saying.
networks are dictated by large
bruh.
advertisers
No, bruh. Here
who
you go
give them
again.
money.
Wait, which
That-
one of them? Which one?
Fox and CNN.
Which person are you talking about?
Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, but Billy, also Tucker Carlson has been like going against some of his advertisers for the last like 2 years.
This time he barked up the wrong tree.
I
It cost
don't know
Fox
about that.
News $787
Did it have-
million dollars.
Yeah, I thought it had something to do with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. And there's also the aspect of a harassment lawsuit where some of the texts that were uncovered between Carlson and other people behind the scenes kind of like backed up that individual's claim. And so he became exposure for him. And yeah, it's he's gonna be fine. Don't worry. I'm not gonna cry any tears for Tucker. He's gonna end up making more money than he already made before. It actually would. I've seen a lot of people say that they should have Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson do like a reboot of Crossfire, and we talked about that a little bit on Tuesday's show. And I don't know if did you guys ever watch the original Crossfire?
No, we're too young.
I've seen clips, but
It was bad, but it wasn't as bad as the media has become with like the segmentation of Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and all that stuff. Like looking back on it, it was way better than what we have now. But at the time, we were like, "This sucks." Like you guys are they turned politics into around the horn, basically, which is entertaining. But at the same time, I think Jon Stewart went on Crossfire one time back in the day, and he was just like, "Stop! Can you guys just please stop? Because you're actually hurting people by turning this whole thing into a game when you're actually talking about people's lives." And at the time, we thought that was bad, but it's way, way better. Actually, this would never happen in a million years. But if Jon Stewart and Tucker Carlson did a show together, I think that would that would be fire as far as like clips go, as far as the debates that they would have. I don't think that they'd do it. I don't think that Jon Stewart would want to do it.
No,
But
he definitely would.
I think it would be healthier than what we have right now in our news, is what I'm saying.
I don't think he's on his level, man. And I say that respectfully, but I think Jon Stewart is like brilliant. I think you have somebody to match, because I think Tucker Carlson, I don't think he's stupid. I just think that intellectually you'd have to have somebody, because Jon Stewart's smart as shit, and so I think you have somebody can match that. Like, so somebody like I don't know, I can't think of anybody right now, but maybe like a Ben Shapiro, like somebody who can match his wits at least intellectually. Though. I mean, I don't like the dude, but I'm just trying to find somebody on the right that can intellectually match Jon Stewart, and I don't think Tucker Carlson can do that. I think he's good for what he does, right? But like, I've never seen him like drum up a poignant point that makes you think and makes you
Andrew
dig in the
Tate.
bag.
Andrew Tate and Jon Stewart.
Holy shit!
But it's like chess boxing, where they do the first segment is debate, second segment is kickboxing, and then third segment is debate again.
Is he out? I heard he was out. Is he out?
He's out of jail.
Yeah.
What's up with the charges, Billy? You keeping up with what's up with him?
I mean, I think they're just like, I don't know. It's a different court system. We don't actually know what's going on. I mean, it's not the U.S.
Billy, I need you to become an expert in Romanian law.
Okay. I think Romanian law is whatever they want. Like whatever the government wants.
Yeah.
So's ours, bro.
I think there's a little bit more due process on our end.
Depends on who you
I
ask.
think that in Romania, it's just like whoever happens to be in charge of the situation at that given time gets to make all the rules. And by that given time, I mean like whoever is like driving the car that is taking Andrew Tate from one jail to another, that guy is now in charge.
I don't
of
think
the
he
court
ever
system.
saw a judge.
He gets checked in.
Like in America, you get the right to see a judge.
Yeah, but even then, like you have people die in jail
Yeah.
waiting on the judge like 3-4 years before it even get your case seen.
So they're on house arrest. But,
I would love to be on house arrest.
dude, that was basically COVID. They put the whole country on house arrest.
That's Arian's vacation, is house arrest.
Lit. little golf every now and then. Let it extend.
Yeah, so
I actually live on a golf course though.
It's funny. I'm basically I've shared a little bit about this process that I'm going here with my mom. I've been moving her into her new place, which is like it's like a retirement center. So she's got like her own condo, but it's in like this big area where they've got all sorts of apartment complexes set up, and they've got restaurants in every building. They've got recreation and stuff. They've got a pickleball court. People are just playing pickleball right outside. There's like a big bridge club that's playing right outside the store right now. And the room that they graciously allowed me to use to do this is the golf simulator room. I'm literally right now, I'm going to try to turn my computer to that.
Oh no. Oh,
What?
this retirement home has a golf simulator?
That's fire. I don't know how that is connected to your internet, but
The room.
your camera's connected to your internet. When you moved it, you went away. But that's fire, bruh.
It is pretty sick.
I'm looking
It's pretty sick.
I'm looking to get a golf simulator in the crib.
So yeah, you should. It's got like the TrackMan and everything. I might get a couple.
Does it have
I
a
might see
real
if I can-
TrackMan? Because
I think so.
TrackMan are like $20,000, dog.
I let me go see what it is. I might try to get a quick 9 in after we're done recording before I go back. But hang on, I'm gonna tell you what kind it is.
Yeah, there's no way that they have a TrackMan in a retirement home.
That'd be
Unless-
sick though.
Because the actual, my dad's always like, oh, the actual TrackMans, like those are
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
legit
there's like
ones.
$20,000.
Yeah.
It's a SkyTrack.
Got you. Yeah, it's like they have more reasonably priced ones. But I remember when I first
I'm packing my mom up. We're moving out.
cheap ass golf simulator. No, I was gonna put one in the crib, but the lady told me, she was like, it's like 20,000. I was like, what the fuck is why? Why? Now, like, I'm straight. I just
Golf
go
is
to
so
the range,
expensive.
bro. Golf is extremely high class. That's why they so uppity with all these stupid ass rules.
I think it's like
Hate it.
like one of the most addictive. Like I think it's one of the most expensive habits. And the thing is, it is a real addiction. Like literally, everyone at Barstool reaches a certain age, and they just like every podcast turns into a golf podcast. Like we got Spit and Chicklets as a golf podcast.
Foreplay.
Foreplay's a golf podcast. Like I'm trying to make sure this doesn't turn into a totally big like golf podcast. Part of my take is definitely turned golf. Like
Turned golf.
You're just witnessing
we went
people
to golf.
aging, Billy. That's
everyone's just golfing. I'm the only one who's just like trying to keep us not into a golf.
When are we going to
podcast.
get back to manly sports like football?
And we just play golf.
And actually, Big T makes a great point because like this is strictly an off-season thing. I'm sure once football season rolls around, like I'm not going to play golf at all.
You're gonna be
That's-
like,
that shit's going to be over.
oh yeah, it's gonna be
man,
Sunday.
fall
It's gonna
times-
be nice out.
fall
You're gonna be
time
like,
is
oh
beautiful,
fuck
man.
football. I want to go play golf.
I'm not going to say fuck football.
You're gonna be
Billy.
like, I don't want to sit
Oh.
inside all Sunday when it's nice out and I could be hitting the links, doing all the putting and the chipping and the
yeah,
Oh,
Billy.
and the dunking
my God.
and the driving.
it
and
honestly would be cheaper. It'd be more financially responsible for people once they turn 30 instead of picking up golf to just get addicted to crack. That would probably save
That's
them
what-
money on the long term.
Oh, 1,000% it would. 1,000%.
I'll tell you what I've gotten a little bit addicted to recently that is much cheaper but is just as good. It's golf video games.
that's a
Yeah.
gateway.
I just play PGA all day now.
You know, I've been meaning to download that, man.
And like my
All the
guy's
homies
getting
got it.
better, so I'm my attributes, I'm buying more stuff. I'm getting pretty good.
Have you given up
Yeah,
cutting lawns?
For the time being, we'll bring that back at some point.
Got you. You gotta chase your dreams.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, we'll bring it back. I haven't been on the mower in a month or two. We will bring that back.
There's definitely some sort of overlap that you can do where you could run the mower simulator, but also like use the golf course designing tool in PGA Tour 2K, and then you could mow your own golf course. You could maintain the golf course that you
That
created.
would be nasty.
There's got to be a landskeeper simulator for golf courses. A groundskeeper
Groundskeeper.
simulator.
Groundskeeper,
We can
yeah.
look into it. I'm sure there is.
And then you can play your own
Put
course
the pine
too.
straw down.
I'll tell you what, man. If you ever just look at a golf course, the way that, I mean, if somebody was to tell you from scratch to make a putting green, like I don't even know how to begin to make that shit like that. That shit is magical, bro. Like,
Don't mean to be that guy. Golf
You're about
courses
to
are
be.
so bad for the environment. I mean, you guys
Agreed.
are libs. Like, I don't know. I like
I'm
real forest.
still-
I
this
like
is
wildlife.
almost year 3 of this podcast, and you're still calling us libs. It's actually wild.
Okay, I don't care.
Actually wild.
I mean, you guys are like in
What do
big-
you
guys
want
are
us to
eating-
call you?
Like, you guys eat out of big farmers' hands.
Leftists,
So I don't know.
Okay.
communists.
Okay, that's fine.
Fuck,
I use those terms too.
Yeah, do that. Libs is so centrist. It's
All right, but also Billy,
Yeah, you really didn't like that. You really didn't like that.
Understanding,
Triggered.
Your understanding of politics is about a year and a half long, and
Okay.
you think that like liberals
I-
are the party of big pharma. The liberals
I think-
and Republicans, like conservatives and Republicans, both have been just sucking. I gotta
Yeah, no, they've
about
been.
them because there's people playing bridge right outside. They've been deep throating big pharma for the last 50 years. Okay, so and historically, it's been much
Much
more
worse. I know.
on the Republican side of Congress
I totally believe that.
to turn blind eyes to things. And so like the whole libs are the ones who support big. But you're talking about one specific thing, and that is vaccine for COVID. And because liberals hate Donald Trump and they turned into psychos during COVID about everything that was wrong with Donald Trump, you think that liberals are the only ones
No,
that's
not at
for
all.
big pharma,
I
which
don't think
in
we should-
reality that's not the case.
I don't think we should deep throat any industrial complex, be it the military industrial complex, which all the neocons in the early 2000s got on their knees for. I mean, like now we're sort of just like
Rhinos are
redoing-
you calling George W. Bush a rhino?
I mixed up rhino with neocon.
Dick Cheney, rhino.
They were taking rhino.
Okay, so
they were
what-
taking rhino pills.
But
The entirety of American history is filled with sucking off the military.
I know.
What are you talking about?
I know, but I'm like,
why are you specifying it to rhinos, bro?
No. To me, I'm saying the whole time. It's just like when it was put right in front of us. Like, why weren't you guys like? Why didn't you understand that the same bait and switch was happening?
What?
Also, let's be clear. Let's be clear that if Russia had attacked Ukraine and there were Republicans that were in charge as opposed to Joe Biden, you would not see a giant pushback on military spending and military aid going overseas, because that's historically been a thing that Republicans have been the ones who are like, you're a pussy if you don't support us giving all this money and all this military aid overseas. 100%. And if it was the other way around, if it was Donald Trump who was in office and he was sending all this military spending and shit overseas, then liberals would you wouldn't see too many liberals with Ukrainian flags in their bios.
I mean,
it's all
about.
But like we should be in like Sudan. There's a huge conflict.
All about being consistent.
Okay, I want to get back to the golf courses and how they're bad for amphibians. But really quickly, like Sudan's having a huge conflict right now, and no one gives a fuck because there's no money to be made from it. That's all I'm saying.
I think we just sent a bunch of military aid. I think like 2 days ago. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like Sudan and a number of other places.
We've always been selective about our aid to the world, and it's always in our best interest.
I know. I understand. Yes. I understand. But back to the golf courses. Do you understand how golf courses impact all of the animals in that area? It kills all the frogs.
But it's like
because of the fertilizers.
We don't care.
I'll
tell you why.
You don't care about the salamanders. They eat the
bugs. We know it's poison. It's like drinking. We know it's poison, but I'm gonna have a good time. Like, we're here for a good time, not a long time. And golf courses is that. We know, as a leftist, I know it's fucking up the environment. But god damn it, when I shoot that 82, that feels good.
Yeah.
Fuck them frogs.
Arian Fox. Golf is turning the frogs gay. It is. Because they use atrazine all over them.
Absolutely. We're gentrifying the frogs ecosystem, and I love it.
Seriously. No, not to get into that political rant.
Okay, too late for that, buddy.
I do love though how, like, if the one thing that will make Billy like the biggest environmentalist, like, Billy turns into Greta Thunberg the second one frog is endangered. Billy's gonna start showing up to pipelines, like when they're building pipelines out in rural areas, and like the abortion rights or the abortion anti-abortion people show up with like pictures of like fetuses. Billy's gonna show up with just dead frogs floating belly up, like, look what you're doing, you son of a bitch.
No, the difference is, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, actually, you know who's done some repurpose some great land into golf courses, and let's keep it. But around New York, a couple of like the old trash dumps and like places that have been turned into golf courses was Trump. Trump turned a lot of old dumps into courses, like a lot of, what are they called, fill-ins, landfills. Yeah, he just put golf courses on top of them, and I'm like, that's a great use of polluted land instead of like developing what was a forest or something. I'm all for that if you want to golf on those golf courses.
Yeah. It's so funny because like that's definitely what Trump was thinking too. He's like, you know what? I want to make this environment a little bit better, so that's why I'm buying these landfills and building golf courses. Not because land's cheaper. I'm doing it because I care so very deeply. It's just very funny that like even sometimes if you don't have that intention, like he's low key improving the environment of these bad places in New York.
And there's probably tons of tax benefits for him to develop those lands.
Didn't one of his wives get buried on one of his golf courses?
Yeah, so it can be considered tax free.
Yeah.
Yo, that's just one of the most savage shit I've ever seen in my life, dog.
Bro, I think he split up her ashes and put it in several different properties just to maximize.
Yo,
he put them in various bunkers.
Come whack the shit out of my ex.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
It's funny because he he
man.
did that, and some liberals online, like the Krasenstein sect of Twitter, lost their minds, and they were like, we need to dig up that body because I'm pretty sure that he buried like all of his secrets in that coffin. And,
That's who we
and
need
it
to
became
have.
like a giant national treasure.
We need the Krasensteins on macrodosing. I think we do.
Listen, I'll platform a lot of people. I don't know about the
Oh,
Krasensteins.
come on. I think they need to come on because we've had a couple. We need to balance out George Santos with somebody. Let's have
Okay,
fun.
the Krasensteins would be funny.
If they double teamed us,
I'm taking a page out of Big T's book. I definitely know who the Krasensteins are, but for somebody who didn't know who the Krasensteins were, can you fill them in? Because
I had to Google also.
I don't know.
I don't know who they are.
Okay.
they were the number one
All right, so
Trump repliers.
yeah, so they made their living, or they got famous, if you want to use that term, famous, and I use it loosely, just by setting alerts for Donald Trump tweets on their phones, and then every time he would tweet, they'd be like, "Sir, resign, sir," like those sorts of things, or like call out the hypocrisy in a Donald Trump tweet. Which, yeah, great job, sleuth, in figuring out that Donald Trump at one point said something that directly contradicts whatever he just tweeted out, and that became like their job, and they got these massive amounts of followers. They wrote a book about Robert Mueller investigating Trump, and in the book, I'm pretty sure that Robert Mueller was like shirtless with an 8-pack, just like looking jacked up. So they started to worship Mueller because Mueller was going after Trump, and then they sold that children's book. They got kicked off Twitter for a while because they're basically scam artists, and now they're back on. So I don't take them seriously at all, but they are fascinating individuals to see how there was like an entire segment of the economy that got built up just by being the first people. The first responders is what they are. They're the new first responders that would just reply to Donald Trump tweets, and then they got famous based off that.
Here's a banger from Brian Krasenstein on February 3rd, 2019. While many of you are likely yelling, "Go Patriots" or "Go Rams," I'm yelling, "Go Robert Mueller and the rule of law."
That's a great one. I would consider, so that is a top 2 Super Bowl political tweet of all time. Do you know what the other one is? My personal favorite.
Can you give me a year?
Who's yeah?
Oh, I think I know who it is.
I'm gonna look it up right now. It was in the last 7 years at least.
It was about was it about the halftime commercial with it's Halftime America with what's his name? Why am I blanking? The director, Cool Hand Luke.
I have no idea.
No, it was not about that.
So we're going back to like 2015 or 16.
This is 2014 is when it was. So who was playing in the 2014 Super Bowl?
The 2014 season or Super Bowl?
It was February 3rd, 2014.
Okay, so
I think
the 2013 season was that Patriots Seahawks?
that sounds right. That sounds right to me. Yeah. Patriots, Seahawks. I believe so. And so it was February 3rd, 2014. This is from an account called Young Conservatives. They went by Young Cons, and they were 2 Ivy League graduates that it was David Ruffle and Josh Riddle. And they were getting into the political game, and this is the best political Super Bowl tweet of all time. I can't be the only one who thinks if the troops wanted to, they could put together a football team and dominate the NFL. It's just fantastic. Arian, give me a spread. Give me an odd, like, what do you think the line would be on a game? How many points would the Houston Texans in 2014 be favored by against a team of all Green Berets?
Well,
now
the
hang on.
Seals are juiced to their fucking gills.
I'm sure there's some
Don't
pretty
matter.
good college football players in the military.
Don't matter.
There probably are. Yeah, if you took like the best of the best,
Don't matter.
Nate Boyer,
Don't matter.
he tried out to be a long snapper.
I bet
Little
you
backup
could.
long
I
snapper
bet
for a little bit.
you
Dog
could
washed.
create a slightly below average, maybe an average FBS team out of all the troops.
Definitely an FCS
Well,
team.
you're talking about the Army Navy game.
Yeah, y'all are drunk, man.
No,
Yeah,
they wouldn't be.
I take it back.
Now they wouldn't
You
come
can
close to winning. I'm just saying, how good of a team could you make?
You can catch a team slipping,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Overlooked, because like what you'll have is a bunch of dudes who are super disciplined, not overly athletic, but they can get the job done, and mentally tough, hopefully. And so you might be able to catch a team slipping.
Their run game.
You know
would
what
be-
you're saying right now. You're like when Trump went into the CBS booth at the Army-Navy game and he said, well, it's not the best football, but we love these guys. We love this game. This is amazing. I love being
it's
here.
so facts,
It
though.
was the funniest shit I've ever heard. That's a top 5 Trump moment for me. When he went in there with Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson and was like, it's not the best
shit.
football out there, but these guys are wonderful patriots for their country.
Their run game would be terrible though.
Nah, that's usually what they excel
because
at.
these colors
Is
don't
the wing?
run.
Was it the wing team?
Oh, that was good. That was funny, Billy.
Shit.
You set up that joke beautifully using the word "run" in the setup for the joke and the punchline.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was good.
My bad. I cut into your set there, bro.
I'm
No,
working
my
on
apologies.
bits. I'm working on bits.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
I
be
give-
intentionally
I-
funny.
I give that one a
Okay, there's another one.
See?
a needs
You're on a
improvement.
fucking
but
roll, buddy.
That one gets a needs improvement, but good job, good
I'm
effort.
working on bits like we did last time.
2013
Yeah.
Super Bowl was Seahawks Broncos, by the way.
Okay.
Patriots
All right,
Seahawks
so
was the next year.
I think if you took an all-star team of everybody that played for Army or for Navy or for Air Force, and you like in the last, let's say, 7 years, and put them all on one team, I think
There's been some good players in the last few years at those schools. Keenan Reynolds, really good quarterback. Army has a guy, was it last year, that was a really high draft pick?
But wasn't Keenan Reynolds? Wasn't he like a 5th or a 7th round pick, and he didn't even play quarterback in the NFL?
I believe so, but at Navy he was really good.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think most of the best athletes are actually coming from the Army Navy teams in the military. There's like a bunch of former FBS players that go into special forces. Like I remember reading a story about one, just for an example, one Yale football player was trying to become a Navy SEAL and he died during it. Like there's a bunch of guys like that who go like play at like Wisconsin, Big Ten, and they try to be special forces. And I think they're probably much better than any of the Army Navy guys. They play much higher level football.
Let's not just dismiss the Coast Guard too. I feel like the Coast Guard gets left out all the time in all the discussions. No, I'm just saying, like when we talk about the military, we're like, thank you for your service, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Army. We appreciate you guys. What about the Coast Guard?
I'm pretty sure
Coast Guard's a
D3.
tough job. Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Let's make sure to respect the Coast Guard on the show.
I just learned something. The Coast Guard has a football team?
They recruited me. It's D3 football. And I was like, I don't want to go into the Coast Guard after.
I had no idea. Let me look at this.
Like,
Billy,
imagine
basically you've got all the training already through your dive experience finding the mammoth bones.
Yeah, they're America's lifeguards, and I was a very good lifeguard, probably the best job I ever had.
You could have told people that you played football at a service academy, and then they're like, oh, which one? And then you just say, I prefer not to say, I don't like to brag, and they would have thought you played at Army or Navy.
The thing is, I don't even think they pay for your tuition. Like the thing about Army Navy is like you have to pay for school.
Why are the colors orange and blue like this?
I don't know.
Like it's like a bright, dull orange and royal blue.
Why would you have to pay the Coast Guard to join the Coast Guard?
Let me check. Oh yeah, never mind. No tuition. Because half the thing about playing for, because in the Northeast, Army would offer everybody, like anyone who had any D1 offers would automatically get an Army offer because it's just so hard for them to recruit, and they would have all these benefits for football players and like financial stuff. But I like playing D3 for Coast Guard. I mean, like there's nowhere close to any of the benefits that the other schools give, especially for D3. Because because D3 there's no scholarships.
Did you get offered for Army?
Do you want to hear the story?
No, I just asked.
No, this is actually really funny. They offered a bunch of kids on my team, and I walked in to my coach's office when the recruiter was there, and the recruiter just looks at me and goes, "Too tall." I was like,
Oh yeah, I think you have
I was
told that
like-
story.
I
Like
was
you were
like-
too much man for the Army. That's why you didn't sign up.
because he was like, if you look at all the Army quarterbacks, they're all short, and he's like, too tall, can't get into the mesh. And I was like, the fuck.
Get into the mesh.
And plus, I wasn't a running quarterback,
That does actually make sense,
and
though.
plus, I wasn't. You know, even if I was fat, like I wasn't. They weren't looking to recruit me.
How tall are you?
Even if you were
6'3"?
fat.
I like if you look at every Army quarterback, it's a totally different type of quarterback than the way I played.
I'm not knowing about the.
They are
Army
They're
the
short.
the
They're
triple
sh-
option quarterbacks
Yeah.
are usually pretty short.
They're there to hide behind the linemen and just like confuse everybody where the ball is, and like get deep into like the option. It's not.
You were too good for Army.
No, I was not too good. I was too tall and not mobile enough,
It-
and didn't have the hip mobility.
I see you.
That's
I love that. I love that Army is looking at guys that like want to join the military, and they're like, "We'd really love to have you serve your country, but unfortunately, since I can't use you on the football field, you can fuck off."
That is funny.
it was. I was like, what?
Too much man for the Army.
I was
Yeah,
just like, if I get that one Army offer, then maybe like other schools will start looking at me. And then it was
I think
like-
Billy just wanted to be able to like tell his kids and grandkids one day, like, Army offered your old man a scholarship. No big
Well,
deal.
they don't offer scholarships. They just offer you a trip overseas or in.
a spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone gets
Yeah.
a scholarship. It's kind of a
That's
lib
true.
school if you think about it.
If you think about it, the Army gave the first scholarships ever.
The GI Bill,
Yeah, the GI Bill, they gave the first scholarships.
a participation trophy just because you served overseas. Yeah,
No, we love
that's
we love
when
our
this
men and
country
women
started going
in
downhill.
uniform.
Shane Gillis also played D1 football for Army.
I didn't know that.
Didn't make it. He dropped out, but he went to training camp.
Okay, yeah, he joined the Army for a little bit.
During wartime.
Football team,
Actually,
but the
I'll let
Army.
him tell that bit.
Okay. Is he coming? Is he coming in right now, or
No, like I don't want to
it
steal.
sounds
his
like
bit.
an intro for Shane?
I don't want to steal his
Okay.
bit if he's coming on soon.
All right. We got Robbie joining us.
Yes. Let's
Do you want me to grab him?
send him in.
Old
yeah.
Robbie Fox. Send him in because I was doing a little bit of research for this show, and there's one thing that I need
Don't
to
get
ask
him.
him
Yeah,
about
let
sure, yeah, the craziest wrestling story, the craziest event in the history of professional wrestling, and for some reason I have never heard of it until just now, and it's fascinating. So that'll be a tease. Do we have an ad that we can pop off? It's a good tease.
We don't. So let's just use this time to talk about how you should buy macrodosing merch on the Barstool store. The more macrodosing merch you buy, the better the merch gets. That's kind of how it works around here. So please, if you haven't checked out, we have July 4th coming up, or July 4th shirts out. Tons of great, like this shirt here, macrodosing. There's other great macrodosing shirts. There's NASA's fake space t-shirts. There's our classic Waffle House t-shirt still on sale. There's the funny one with us with a Yeti. That's a great picture of all of us. And just check out the macrodosing merch if you haven't. And now welcome on Robbie Fox. Robbie just came into the room, guys.
Are we live?
What's
We're
up,
live.
Bob?
Hi,
What's
Robbie.
going on, guys?
We're live, Bobby. How's it going, Robbie?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on. I'm thrilled to be on here. I told my girlfriend I'm about to do macro dosing, and she said, "You have to do drugs before you do that?" I said, "No, but it might help."
Yeah, it might.
It's just implied. Robbie, can we share the news that you shared in the Pup Punk group chat today?
Of course, it's great news.
Yeah. The great news that Robbie shared this morning was that the Saturday of the Pup Punk concert, we're opening up for John Mayer, No Big Deal, at the Ocean's Calling Festival in Ocean City, Maryland, October 1st, right, Robbie?
September 30th.
September 30th. Sorry, September 30th, that Saturday. It is sold out. So I don't know if they're going to make more tickets available, but it's going to be a sold out show. Robbie is the bass player in Pop Punk, one of the founding members of Pup Punk, Robbie Fox. And so yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that. So hell yeah, Robbie, let's get it.
It's the first day that sold out from the festival, which I'm attributing to Pup Punk being on the bill, not John Mayer.
Congratulations,
I'm
fellas.
excited about that. Me and Gia want to go
Correct.
to that really badly.
Well, it's sold out now. You better get
Yeah,
your tickets
it's
quick.
quick.
Yeah, we better hope
Maybe-
they open up more tickets for you.
Yeah, maybe someone behind the scenes can help me out.
Yeah, we might know somebody.
Yeah.
I know a couple people. I'm friends with Roan. I can get that done. Robbie, so we want to talk a little wrestling today, a little professional wrestling. I thought a good way to start off would be to talk about, in my opinion, the craziest professional wrestling event of all time. And we can get into whatever other stuff that you want to get into. But I didn't know about this, that WCW put on an event in North Korea.
Oh my god!
Wait, I didn't know about this. I don't know about this.
You haven't heard about this?
No.
All right. This is crazy. So this is right after Kim Il-sung had died. So it was like, I want to say the mid 90s, and he was the guy that he was the ruler of North Korea for a long time, including during the Korean War, when North Korea, they called it a victory that they defeated the United States of America. And he was their god. He was everything to them. And he had just died. And so that meant that because of his death, Kim Jong-il was taken over. Kim Jong-il was Kim Jong-un's dad. So Kim Jong-il was taking over North Korea at the time. And this is 1995, by the way. I just looked it up. April 28th and 29th, 1995 in Pyongyang, North Korea. So they've got a new leader that is starting to run the show. And at the same time, there's a very famous wrestler named Antonio Inoki. Do you know Antonio Inoki? Probably he's a famous Japanese wrestler.
Huge wrestler. You could call him like the Hulk Hogan of Japan for a while.
Yeah. So he was actually serving in the Senate in Japan at the time. So like politics is just kind of the same everywhere. It's like it's all kind of theater, and professional wrestlers, I think they're used to like acting and being dramatic and all this stuff, and so they're kind of like unique.
Strong.
Exactly.
Politics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way in the world.
Yeah, he was masculine, right? So he was a senator in Japan, and he was under investigation because he had a connection to the Yakuza, allegedly. So that's the Japanese mafia. So people were investigating him. His numbers were dipping down, and he was going to come up for re-election soon. And he wanted to figure out a way to give himself a publicity bump. And so he came up with this idea because he was good friends with Eric Bischoff, the leader of WCW, the president of WCW. They had a good relationship dating back decades. And he also had some connections in North Korea. And so he reached out to Eric Bischoff, and he was like, hey, do you want to put on an event that could change the world and promote world peace? I think that it would be great for WCW to be seen as ambassadors for the United States and to put on a wrestling show in North Korea. And I will wrestle in it. That's what Inoki was saying. He wanted to be the headliner of it. And Bischoff agreed to it. He asked Hulk Hogan to be the wrestler that was going to be in the main event. Hulk said no. He was like, no, thank you. I don't need to go to North Korea. So he went with the second best option on that. And he got Ric Flair to do it. So Ric Flair was going to be the headline wrestler, go over to North Korea. They brought a giant contingent of wrestlers from WCW. And the reason why WCW wanted to do this, it's not just like they didn't want to, professional wrestling companies don't do anything just because they want to spread goodwill around the world. There's obviously like a monetary aspect involved in it. And that was right in the middle of the battle between WCW and WWF, which then became WWE. But it was the Monday night, what did they call it? Just the Monday Night Wars?
Correct.
Yeah, so WCW saw this as an opportunity to make a giant splash, elevate their brand, and also gain, maybe a entire nation that was now going to be WCW fans. So they agreed to it. They brought a whole bunch of wrestlers over there. Muhammad Ali also went on this trip, and they did like a quick tour of the country. And the North Korean officials were walking them around, showing them all the monuments. And it was like the most sanitized tour possible that you could ever get of North Korea. Just them showing like, here's where dear leader sleeps. Yeah, and the rules were you had to be very, very polite the entire time. And one of the wrestlers that went over was named Scott Norton.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott Norton was in a hotel room, and he called his wife at home because his wife was very, very jealous, and she thought that every time he went on the road, he was like banging some strange tale. And so she was like, you're out there partying it up, and I don't trust what you're doing over there, just because she was afraid that he was sleeping with other women. And he yelled back at her on the phone. He goes, no, it's not like that at all. You don't understand. This country is a shithole. And right after he said that, a bunch of North Korean security officials broke down the door, came into his hotel room, arrested him, took him in for questioning. He thought that he was going to die. He thought that they were going to execute him. They let him off with a warning, but they had tapped every phone. Every wrestler's phone was tapped. And they eventually let him off. And then they end up having the event. And there were 190,000 North Koreans there.
What?
Oh my
190,000. So whenever wrestling talks about their like biggest audiences and the largest live shows that they've ever done, they usually conveniently omit the North Korean show. But in reality, it's the biggest live wrestling event of all time. And there's not a really close second to that.
Well, biomass wise, it might not be as much as as a Midwestern show.
True. It might not be the heaviest wrestling event ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. I think if you have one in like Wisconsin,
yeah.
If you did a WWE event at Lambeau Field and you packed the stands, I think that would actually weigh more than 190,000 North Koreans in Pyongyang.
We're coming from the bread belt versus North Korea.
Yeah.
If you're thinking anything else, that's your problem.
So they have this event, and you might ask yourself, like, what did the average North Korean citizen know about professional wrestling? Because professional wrestling is not a thing in North Korea. They didn't know anything about it. They didn't know that it was fake. They didn't know that any of this stuff was like scripted or a big theatric performance. They just knew that Ric Flair was there symbolizing the evil Americans. And so they booed the fuck. They hated Ric Flair. And Ric Flair played into this whole like pro-America thing while he was over there. And they booed the shit out of him. And before the show, well, actually, I should say when they were being led around the country on the like sightseeing tour, they were going to like all these historical sites, and the North Korean government was telling the professional wrestlers like Ric Flair and all those guys, you know, everything that you've been taught in school is a lie. North Korea actually won World War II, and we took over the world. And so they were just being like indoctrinated into all these North Korean beliefs. And so Ric Flair gets booed so hard by everybody. They absolutely hate him. He goes out there and he gets pinned. He ends up losing the match to Inoki. And but they had no idea that the entire thing was fake. And before the event started, they were out there and they asked Ric Flair to like read a statement denouncing the evilness of the United States of America and how much he loved North Korea. And he said that he wouldn't read that statement, but he did go out and talk about what a beautiful place North Korea was and how wonderful it was to be there and how great everybody in North Korea was. But I can only imagine how confused you would be as somebody who had no idea that professional wrestling was even a thing or any of the lore behind any of the professional wrestlers. And you think that you're at just a gladiator show, basically, with, you know, pyrotechnics, and they're probably like yelling. The ref turns his back and they're like, why is the ref looking away? This is stupid. They were probably actually like, the pop when Inoki went out there was probably like the biggest pop ever in the history of professional wrestling, because they actually wanted him to murder Ric Flair in the ring.
Definitely.
They probably thought it was going to happen.
And Inoki, fun fact about him, actually was involved in what is considered the first mixed martial arts fight or bout of all time against Muhammad Ali. They put together this hybrid rules match, and it was horrendous. It was just Inoki constantly diving at his legs, trying to get a takedown. Muhammad Ali kind of ducking around him, running around him. It went to like a 15-minute draw where basically no punches or anything landed, but people consider that the first MMA fight.
Wow. I wanted to get into a little bit about the origins of professional wrestling, because that I find fascinating. Like, one, regular wrestling, there's a type of wrestling in every single culture across the earth. Like, if you look at any single group of people, they all have some sort of wrestling statute. Like, that's just their own style, their own rules, and how like basically it came to the point where, you know, traveling carnies started wrestling.
It's still like a carny business. You hear that all the time. Wrestlers and people involved in the business are like, oh yeah, this is a fucking carny business. And they have basically their own language, like a carny language. And like you said, it started with like strongman competitions, circuses, where they realized, what if we put together like this crazy feat of strength show that looks like a fight and gets the marks to pay? So the marks in the circus back then, if you saw an idiot out in a crowd and you were like, oh my God, we can get this guy to pay us as much as we want because he's so dumb and he'll believe anything we tell him. They would put some chalk on their hands, they would give him a pat on the back, and that was the mark.
Whoa.
Now in wrestling, a mark means someone that gets so involved and they love it so much that they forget for a minute that wrestling's fake. They're like, oh my God, how could you know this, that, next thing? The marks wound up just being the audience for a couple of years. And they started doing these like Greco-Roman wrestling competitions that were fixed, but fixed to be entertaining for the crowd. And people would be betting on it, having no idea. Eventually, it started like leaking in newspapers. Hey, this might be fixed. These guys knew each other. We saw them leaving together, you know, high-fiving and having friends. Wrestling went through a big down period during both World Wars, because everyone was obviously out at war. Nobody had money to spend on these shows. But after the Second World War, there was a huge boom, not only in America, but in Japan, in Ireland, all over the world, basically. And that became, in the United States, like the territories. So there was the Memphis territory, the New York territory, all these random ones. Vince McMahon's father, Vince McMahon Sr., was running the New York territory. He had Bruno Sammartino for a little bit. He had Andre the Giant, who was a massive figure for them becoming the colossal giant that they are, no pun intended. And in 1980, or around the 1980s, wrestling saw like its biggest boom, the first like golden age of wrestling, really. Vince McMahon Sr. sold the company to his son for $1, basically just handed it down. And in the middle of the 80s, 1985, was WrestleMania 1. The rock and wrestling connection, Cyndi Lauper was a huge part of it, just getting eyes on wrestling and getting MTV crowds watching professional wrestling, and pretty much took off from there.
Yeah. I mean, some of the guys...
Wrestling's just a business where it's like, no matter what it takes, get people to pay tickets and watch on TV to whatever the spectacle's going to be. It doesn't matter what they like. It's going to be loosely based around wrestling and two dudes or two chicks just slamming each other in the ring. But the idea is just, no matter what it takes, asses and seats, asses and seats.
Correct.
Are we carnies? Is Barstool carnies?
To a degree, like we do kind of have our own, you know, kayfabe and vocabulary, and there's heels and baby faces, and there's guys that come in green, and sometimes you'll get potatoed and you got to give them a receipt and whatnot. So like, in a way.
Can you
what is potato? Yeah.
Explain all those terms.
All right. So
I had you up till potato, but maybe walk through the beginning of that.
Listen, you get a rookie coming in, you say he's green as grass. That means he's not very good. He's not very weathered in the business. He doesn't know how to wrestle yet. Getting potatoed means not knowing how to pull a punch and hitting someone in the face for real. Getting them way too good. And then if you get potatoed, you got to give them a receipt. You got to give one back. And it's understood in the wrestling business, once that receipt is given, all is fair. It's all good.
Huh.
Got it. So yeah, I would say Barstool is basically WWE.
We're very close.
Just not scripted.
Correct.
Verbal.
Because there are people who genuinely believe that like everything we do here is fake. And I'm like, I would not have signed up for some of the things that have happened to me in this office if they were fake. I can assure you.
Yeah, you and
that.
Rico really choreographed that fight well.
Yeah.
Well, he missed.
So
yeah.
Who would be like, fill in those roles? Who would be the baby face? Who would be all those rules?
That's a good question. I feel like you and Big Cat are you're a huge babyface tag team at Barstool. A long-standing, everyone loves them. You guys are almost Demolition or the Road Warriors. You know, your music hits, you get a Road Warriors level pop every time. Now, heels, Brandon Walker goes in and out of heel mode sometimes. I think he would acknowledge as much as well. Dave goes in and out of heel mode sometimes. I think Dave always has people either on his side or vehemently against him. Who else would be? Rico's a heel. Yeah, Rico's a heel for sure.
He's turning babyface nowadays.
He definitely is, and I love Rico. I don't mean this in the wrong way, but Rico a few months ago was the perfect heel in that he was the heel who thought he was the babyface. Those are the best villains.
Yeah, that's always great. I would say Minahan is a heel, but he's a heel that'll like wink at you and let you know that he's in on it occasionally.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and that's a thing where you come in and you potato Minahan and you get a receipt. You might not be ready for that.
What has been Mintz?
Oh, great! He's a babyface. He's the lovable golden retriever.
I think so, but I think there are a lot of people who would disagree with that.
He's a heel to heels.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's an interesting.
Did you see him run the mile today?
Yeah.
I mean, that was as babyface as babyface. He said, "Everyone was doubting me my whole life. I proved them all wrong twice." Like that's Mick Foley being raised with the title. Nobody thought that the mama's boy could do it, but he did it.
What was his time?
Like 57 minutes. He had a couple minutes to spare.
Oh, he beat
good for Ben.
And he went dummy mode at the end. He was full on sprint for the last lap. It was crazy, faster than I have ever run in my life.
I love that. So Robbie, we had Stone Cold on the show, and we're going to get to that interview in a little bit. We're going to play that, but it was fascinating and a little sneak peek or a sneak preview for it. Arian and him came at it from a place of like mutual respect, not really knowing, like Arian doesn't really know that much about wrestling, but Stone Cold was like a fan of Arian's and respected the work that he put in the NFL. And so they had this cool little bond, and Arian just kind of like asked me like, "Hey, I don't know much about wrestling. Can you just tell me like, how do you guys do it?" And he gave this really long, thoughtful, really interesting explanation in his mind of just like why professional wrestling exists, how they set it up, why it's popular. And it's a question I bet Stone Cold doesn't get that much, because when he's being interviewed by somebody, they're usually, trying to ask him a detail about, a specific point in wrestling. The interviewer usually comes at it from a point of like being a wrestling expert. And it was cool to see like his explanation behind everything. But Arian, I guess I'll let you talk here for a second, because I know that you didn't grow up watching wrestling. You're not like a wrestling guy. But Robbie like is the most passionate person in the world about wrestling, and he absolutely loves it. And so I don't know if you have any questions about like being a wrestling fan or how that happens or why you love it, but I wanted to see if you wanted to kind of like talk to Robbie about that, because I bet a lot of people out there that are listening might not be wrestling fans just like you.
Yeah, no. So I didn't grow up watching it. One, because I didn't have cable, and two, it was just never like in my household. It was never like a thing. All the neighborhood kids would gather and watch it at this one dude's house, and I was just never into it. Even when I would go over there, I would just like end up doing something else. It just never appealed to me. And I used to like actively talk shit about people who liked it. I was that guy. I was like, it's fake. Why do you watch that shit? But as I grew older, I kind of get and you understand the appeal of it. But as a kid, I didn't understand how kids could have the appeal of something that wasn't real. If you could dive into the psychology of what was appealing for you, like as a kid, knowing it was fake, but still getting into the lore of it.
Absolutely. And that's like a big part of being a wrestling fan and growing up a wrestling fan is getting bullied for liking wrestling at some point in your life. All kids go through this phase where you go to kindergarten. And this, for me, wrestling's been a part of my life for as long as I could remember. Like my earliest memories as a 2 and 3 year old are watching wrestling VHS tapes with my older brother. And I never came at it from the point of view of like, this is real and I think it's real. My brother, who's 12 years older than me, always presented it in a way like, this is fake. It's like they're actors, but it's awesome. It's like superheroes, but they're actually performing in front of a crowd. You could go to these events. You could cheer for them. They could get in your face at one of these events and yell at you. It's very interactive in that way. So I was in from the second I saw it. The action figures too, the toys, everything about wrestling appealed to me. Then you go through the phase probably around 6th and 7th grade when it's no longer cool to like wrestling and people are making fun of you for watching wrestling. You got to hide your action figures and your video games when people come over and whatnot. And for me, wrestling is the ultimate good guy versus bad guy. And it's like an art form to tell that story in as many different ways as you could possibly think up. So it's like the question of who's the greatest wrestler of all time is impossible to answer for me, because it's like saying who's the greatest artist of all time. There's just so many routes you could take it. There's wrestling matches that are straight up comedies, start to finish. Last year at WrestleMania, Johnny Knoxville came and had a street fight with Sami Zayn. They were using human-sized mouse traps. They were used, like, Wee Man came out, hit a slam. Like everyone was involved from Jackass. They used the giant hand to smack somebody. Then there's wrestling matches that are such drama-filled roller coasters that I'm in tears at the end and I'm crying, and I'm like, they just encapsulated a 7-month-long storyline in 30 minutes and made grown men in the crowd that know this is fake, that know this is silly. It's grown men in their underwear fake fighting. They're playing dress up and fake fighting, but it makes us like feel something, because I think the live aspect is another huge thing. It's like going to a Broadway show. If you could go every single week, keep up with it, the stories, the characters evolve. And at the same time, it's the only show other than The Muppets, in my eyes, that's a show about the show. So you see a match and then you cut to backstage and they're like, we got to think of a main event for tonight. And then two guys get into a brawl backstage and you're like, oh, I guess that's the main event. Now it's booked for the show. That, and then also the politics, like the real life politics of wrestling is as interesting as the real life politics of anything. And it's like watching Succession right now, especially with Vince McMahon selling the company, his daughter leaving the company, Triple H, his son-in-law, is still running it in creative control of things. There's so many like things about wrestling that are just fascinating. I've been watching since I was 3 years old. I haven't missed a WrestleMania since. This year was my 20th WrestleMania I watched, and like that is my Christmas. I would never miss one.
Can I give a far less eloquent answer to your question from my time following wrestling, which is about 15 years ago now? But it was fucking badass. Yeah, it was really cool. I like 2007, like 2006, 7, 8. I went to Backlash.
Hell yeah.
In 2007. It was in Atlanta, and that was like the coolest shit I've ever been to. It was I loved wrestling when I was a kid. It was awesome. And it was like my parents wouldn't let me like watch things like TV, like if they knew a TV show like that was bad, like obviously they wouldn't let me watch that. But wrestling, they said cuss words and stuff, and they were like blood. Yeah, and it was just weapons. It was awesome. Vince McMahon killed himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say I brought
cool.
I don't know if you guys wanted to get into it, but I brought a couple different topics today that we could get into. One is Vince McMahon killing himself. One is Vince McMahon versus God. One is the most chaotic Royal Rumble of all time, where Vince tore both of his quads in real life just trying to get into the ring. That was very funny. And then I had the ladder match for custody of a child. So like
I'm unfamiliar with Vince McMahon versus God.
So this was
I want to get into that one too, but I just want to say, like, to wrap up what you guys just went through right there. You guys said the exact same thing as each other. Just Robbie explained why it was badass. Like all the stuff that he just went through, like the net result, it's like an equation. Everything Robbie said, like the parts of the equation, and then the answer to the math problem is Big T just being like, it fucking rocks.
Fucking badass. Yeah.
I actually, when I first started watching wrestling, I did think it was real because my parents wouldn't let me watch TV after a certain time. So whenever I was watching wrestling, they didn't know I was watching wrestling because I was up late. So
you had no one to explain it to you.
I had no one to explain it to me. So I was like, oh man, this is insane. So like Edge is having sex in the ring.
Yeah. So live sex celebration.
Yeah.
So you said you knew from the beginning it was fake.
I cannot recall a time in my life where there was like a revelation of like, wait, what?
Because I was adamant it was real. Yeah. I told anybody that would listen.
No,
I don't remember explicitly like finding out or when I like knew that, but I was adamant for a very long time that it was.
So you
not
just
fake.
gradually accepted it.
I think so, yeah. And I think by the time I finally like didn't really watch anymore, that was probably about then.
It's like Santa Claus.
My buddies and I would do the moves on each other at recess, and then then our teacher would be like, wrestling's fake, and we thought they were saying it was fake so that we would stop doing the moves to each other.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, they just don't want us wrestling.
I went as far as like fake. I think you know this, PFT, but I went as far as thinking that wrestling was my dream and my goal in life, and I for a year in high school, my junior year of high school, did Go Mad, which is gallon of milk a day. And I was just putting on pounds. I put on 40 pounds over my junior year, went from like 120s to 160. I was very proud of myself. I was going to the gym 4 times a week. And that summer, I went into wrestling school, one of the best wrestling schools in the country, Create a Pro. And I lasted a month and a half. And it was,
oh my God, I didn't know that.
It was very, very, very painful. I was not good at it. Look at my body type. Obviously, I should have known better. I was in school with MJF at the time.
So I was going to ask if anybody that you were with made it.
So that's the MJF actually just roasted me on Twitter yesterday. Said I didn't know how to do a roll when we were in school together, which is true. I felt like I was going to break my neck doing a simple roll in the ring. But yeah, that was for a long time. I thought, this is my goal. This is my dream. I will be a wrestler when I grow up. I'll be in the main event of WrestleMania.
How many times did they proposition you with steroids while you're in that school?
Never, but I was told instantly, like, you're going to have to wrestle under a hood, which means we're going to have to put you in like a luchador mask because you look way too young.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was never propositioned with steroids because the indie scene in wrestling is a little more like the wrestling nerds like me that are like, we care about this so much that, like, you know, we want to get into it. And then they're like the skinny guys that, you know, not always. I'm not trashing on all indie wrestlers, but a lot of the time don't make it.
Wow.
So let's get into Vince McMahon versus God, because Big T, my ears perked right up when I heard that.
This is great, and I'm surprised Big T actually doesn't know about it because it is in your sweet spot. This is like 2006.
I may have known at the time. I don't recall.
So God is your sweet spot.
No, time-wise, he said.
Okay, got you.
So Vince McMahon, as I mentioned, in 2005, had to run into the ring to make an impromptu call during the Royal Rumble and tore both of his quads just sliding into the ring. It is such a funny clip. He sits down. He has this angry look on his face. When he returns from injury, though, he brings back this ultimate bad guy persona, the Mr. McMahon persona that you know and love, that Stone Cold, the guest on this podcast, got famous for feuding with throughout the years. So he has this whole thing where he's firing people left and right. The classic Vince McMahon, "You're fired." You know, he says that in that voice. And he starts the Kiss My Ass Club. So whenever someone pisses him off, Vince McMahon takes his pants, puts them around his ankles, and they have to kiss his ass, literally. Kiss his bare ass. So he did this with Jim Ross, did this with various wrestlers. Shawn Michaels confronts him, and he's like, "Grow up, motherfucker. You can't make these people kiss your ass constantly." So Vince McMahon doesn't take too kindly to this. And he says, "Shawn, you and me are now basically in a feud." He distracts Shawn during the Royal Rumble. He gets eliminated from behind. He makes Shawn kiss his ass eventually, has him knocked out. Michaels throws piss on Vince. He has a cup of piss that Vince is like, "You're going to fail a drug test." So he pissed into a cup, threw it on Vince. It's getting ugly. Really, really ugly. Shawn Michaels at this point is a born-again Christian in real life. He had a very bad drug addiction for a while, got into religion, and became sober. This was very much a part of his life, and he was open about it, so it was part of his character as well. Vince McMahon says, "All right, we got a handicap match now. It's going to be you and God versus me." Okay, so they book this match for, I believe it might have been a Backlash. And McMahon starts saying that he's going to convert Shawn to McMahonism. He does videos in churches where he takes baptism water and he spits it in the air like Triple H. It is getting ugly, and religious people are very upset at the WWE. They're protesting shows at this point, but also Shawn Michaels is like their guy. He's a real born-again Christian, so they're like, as much as we hate this feud, we do want Shawn Michaels to kick this guy's ass. So they have the match. It's the pay-per-view. They have a full entrance for God where they have like holy music playing. The lights go out in the arena and just a single spotlight goes on the stage and it follows nothing down to the ring. And they kicked Shawn Michaels' ass. They had the Spirit Squad come in. I don't know if you remember them. They were Vince McMahon's personal cheerleaders, a team of 5 cheerleaders. And God and Shawn Michaels did lose that match. So currently in the WWE, God's record is 0-1.
So now that you mention all that, I do vaguely
awesome,
recall this going on. And I remember all the Shawn Michaels stuff because I read his book when I was a kid. He came out with a book that talked a lot about being a Christian and stuff like that. And I remember reading his book, and now I do vaguely remember that. I actually said that, so that was at Backlash in 2006.
Gotcha.
And I went to Backlash in 2007. Do they still do that? Is that still a pay-per-view?
Yeah, Backlash is the next one coming up. It's the
Okay.
first one after WrestleMania. This year, it's going to be the first Backlash ever in Puerto Rico, and Bad Bunny will be wrestling.
Huh.
Bad Bunny's wrestled before, and he's very good, actually. He grew up a huge wrestling fan, and he took it very seriously. So before his WrestleMania match, he put in like 7 weeks of training and got real serious about it. So he's been making appearances in the WWE left and right.
Robbie, I got a question for you. Is there a certain celebrity or public figure out there that you think would be good at this if they tried? Like, is there somebody that has never entered the world of professional wrestling that you think could end up being like a massive draw and very good at it?
I think there's an easy answer right now, and it would be Jake Paul, because Logan Paul has dove into the WWE, and he is unbelievable. He's only had a couple matches, I think maybe 3-4 matches, one of those being a Royal Rumble, so it's not like a one-on-one thing. But at his current experience level, he's as good as anyone's ever been.
What about Charles Barkley?
I think he's
Barkley,
too
no,
old.
he's cooked. But Shaq had a match. I was there live for a Shaq match. Me and Brandon Walker went down to AEW to do a little segment with Chris Jericho, and Shaq had his first match that night. Went through a table. He was doing choke slams. He was pulling people from the crowd, throwing them into the ring. It was really good, actually.
I've got another one, JJ Watt. He is the ultimate babyface, right?
I see. I go back and forth because Gronk had a really bad run in the WWE. Everyone always said Gronk would be the best wrestler. He came in, he did a couple things. He was really afraid of taking any bumps. There was one bump in particular. He was just supposed to dive off of like maybe a 10-foot tall like banner, essentially. And he was so afraid to do it that 73-year-old Vince McMahon went and did it before the show just to show him, like, stop being a pussy.
Well, wasn't Gronk still playing at that time?
Kidding me.
He was still playing when he did like a run-in at WrestleMania, but at that point he was retired. They made him the WWE 24/7 champ, and it fizzled out so quick.
I've got somebody who I don't know if he'd be good, but hopefully he's searching for employment soon. Y'all might not be familiar with the work of Marcelo Zuna, but he's the worst player in Major League Baseball. He plays for the Braves. Ultimate heel.
Okay.
Couple of arrests, domestic violence, and a DUI. Just the biggest piece of shit.
He's a heel, yeah.
Yeah, piece of shit, awful that you could imagine. I think he could do some work as a heel, and hopefully he's released soon.
If Trae Young put on the weight, he would be good.
Trae Young would be awesome.
Yeah,
That's actually
he's
a good
actually made
one.
an appearance before at MSG, which was
I remember that
huge
now.
heat.
Yeah, it was like
Huge.
right after. It was that summer after the playoff series that the Hawks won here.
It was actually on September 11th. Never forget, I was at that
Oh,
show.
was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, and he went and did that. Yeah, I remember that now. He would be awesome.
he would be great.
I just watched the match where Edge sleeps with what's her face in
With
the ring.
Lita.
With Lita.
So that wasn't a match. That was just a live sex celebration. After Edge won the title, they put a mattress in the ring and they went to town on each other. Lita actually had her boob fall out during that segment.
Yeah.
I might need to start watching wrestling again. What's your favorite like era of wrestling? Like, do you think it's as good right now?
No, God, no. I'm with your era essentially. So like the era when I was a baby, the Attitude Era is
Right.
considered the GOAT by many. But like for me, like the Ruthless Aggression era, the Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, Edge, Kurt Angle era, that's like what I grew up watching. So that is like my golden era. Now, for the last year, Vince McMahon stepped down, Triple H took over the company, and the product got exponentially better. Like Vince McMahon has lost his touch for a decade plus. He hasn't really been very good at his job. And that has shown ratings, ticket sales, lowest they've ever been in WWE. Triple H takes over, everything turns around. Ratings, ticket sales, highest they've ever been. Now Vince is back, he's got a mustache, and things are going downhill again.
Yeah, he looks like that guy in
Slightly I was gonna say slightly unrelated. I remember like a bunch of kids when I was growing up, they were super obsessed with Goldberg. I think it's Goldberg?
Yeah.
Goldberg? And he was like undefeated or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he like lost a match or something. I vaguely remember this.
That was one of the biggest storylines of the entire 1990s. Goldberg was the WCW's answer to WWF being so good at the time. Like they were in the Monday Night Wars, battling each other out for ratings every night, on at the same time every night. And Goldberg, a guy who came from the NFL, actually, he played in like one game maybe for the Falcons.
Yeah.
he was just this monster. And they were like, what if we had someone who just comes in and wrecks shit, like beats people in 10 seconds, doesn't even need to cut a promo. And this is the era where Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold, like, they're cutting the greatest promos wrestling's ever seen. They're like, this guy's just going to be a silent killer. And he went all the way up to 173-0 before he lost. And his loss is considered one of the cheesiest, worst, botched decisions in wrestling history, because his loss was eventually they just tased him. The NWO came out with a taser. They tased Goldberg till he was on the ground, and they lost, where a lot of wrestling fans would say that was an opportunity to have someone beat Goldberg clean in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, and launch them to superstardom based on that.
What's your least favorite decision that was ever made in WWE?
That's tough, because the last decade, 15 years, Vince McMahon has made some horrendous decisions, like truly, truly bad. I think the decision to put Roman Reigns over in the main event of this year's WrestleMania is as bad as I've ever seen. And I like Roman Reigns. His current title reign has been very good, but it's been going on for 3 years, which is unheard of. The entire Attitude Era lasted for 3 years. So that's like, we're in the Roman Reigns era. They had Cody Rhodes come in, an Atlanta guy himself, and he was as over as any babyface since Daniel Bryan, any good guy in the last 10 years. The crowd wanted to see him win this title so bad. Everyone was behind him. It seemed like it was time, and they just had Roman Reigns win. And right now we're back in the same spot we were months ago. I think it's a Vince McMahon decision. I think he came in and told Triple H, we're going to axe the Cody Rhodes, make the fans happy title run, and we're just going to stay on course with Roman. That might be too inside baseball for the podcast.
I'm saying you're the he's asking you, like, he's one off and you just fire it off. It's fascinating how this is definitely your wheelhouse, bro.
I live and breathe wrestling. I got a wrestling tattoo on my wrist. I used to put wrestling rings together at local indie shows just because I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be around wrestlers. So I would reach out to them. I taught myself graphic design in high school and would reach out to wrestlers and say, if you could get me into this show, I'll do 5 shirts for you for free. And that's how I got into, like, I had wrestling connections before Barstool even. And when I got hired by Barstool, we were actually banned by the WWE for media because the One Man Thrill Ride went and made a video at WrestleMania 32, Man on the Street, and he called wrestling fans like virgins. And it was a funny video, but the WWE didn't appreciate it. So I had to, like, go on a phone call with the WWE head of PR my first, like, couple months here before we started From the Top Rope, be like, I swear I love wrestling more than anyone. I'm not going to shit on it. I am the virgin that they're talking about.
One Man Thrill Ride was working for us?
No, it was just like a freelance video. Like they hired him to do a video at WrestleMania, or they paid him to do a video at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite match ever?
I do. The main event of WrestleMania 30. It was Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton, and Daniel Bryan wins in the ultimate underdog story. He had a match earlier in the night just to make it into the main event, and Daniel Bryan was really my guy. He was a guy that got signed by the WWE in 2009. I knew of him already from the American Legion halls and indies that he was working, so I was rooting for him, and he was a short guy with a beard who does not look like your typical John Cena professional wrestler. Everyone told him for 20 years, you will never make it in this business. You're too tiny. Your style doesn't work. It's too submission focused. And for him to reach the pinnacle of the business, winning the title in the main event of WrestleMania, it's like winning Best Actor if it meant the company is now putting their trust in you for the next however many months. So that match, that made me cry at the end. Literally, I had tears streaming down my face.
That's awesome.
So when would you say the when would you say the apex of the height of wrestling was? When it's at its zenith, it is the most popular it's ever been. When was that?
Like 98, 99 in Stone Cold's era, when it was Stone Cold versus The Rock, and they were the feud. Because like those two, you could call each one of them the greatest wrestler of all time, and nobody's going to argue with you. And they were feuding with each other. They had 3 WrestleMania matches, 15, 17, and 19, put on the biggest WrestleMania of all time, the greatest WrestleMania of all time at 17. So that was the best. And it was also, you had WCW being so good, making the WWF strive to be better every week. So they were really like making each other better week to week. You had The Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, Triple H, like these icons of the business still to this day that are looked back at as the best. WWE is still kind of like living off that era. I always say it sometimes feels like the WWE makes so many documentaries about the Attitude Era that it's like if HBO never made another show after The Sopranos and was just dedicated to talking about how great they were when The Sopranos was on.
You've talked to Stone Cold at some point, right?
Yeah, he's been on the podcast before. He's
the man.
The absolute man. And his podcast, he has a podcast and then a show on Peacock or the WWE network where he has wrestlers on and they'll watch matches and break down the psychology of why they chose to do that, why they chose to get the crowd ramped up in this moment. Like stuff that wrestling nerds obsess over, and he's so open about. I'm sure, like you were saying before, about just describing how you put together matches and stuff. Like, he appreciates the business, and he's also not one of these old timers who's like, oh, back in my day. He appreciates what's going on now. He gives advice to wrestlers now. He's everything you would want in terms of like the GOAT. You would want him to be that way for this generation.
He's probably Arian. He might be my favorite guest we've ever had.
Really? You were?
I loved, and I didn't even talk to him that much. I asked him like one question, but I just loved the conversation, and you could just tell that like he's the man.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell by your expression. But I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it back and see if I can see his face.
He needs to come
I
in
didn't see you as
person.
giddy.
He needs to come in person, stay on for a full show, because I bet he has some hot takes. What do you think of the WWE so intertwined with Saudi Arabia? They might sell to Saudi Arabia.
Well, they're not anymore. So they're sold now. They sold to WME IMG, the company that owns the UFC Endeavor.
Oh.
So that I was worried that they were going to sell to Saudi Arabia. I hate their relationship with Saudi Arabia. It's like blood money. Saudi Arabia's killing journalists over there, but they'll take the WWE. I think it's shady. WWE's got wrestlers on the roster who are Muslim and not welcome over there. Like they're from Syria and not welcome over there. So I hate that, man. Like the shows always feel lesser than as well. Like the shows out there, they'll bring back legends that have no business being in the ring anymore. Like Goldberg actually. And like Goldberg and Undertaker had a match there where they almost killed each other like multiple times because they're just too old to be picking each other up and whatnot.
Jesus.
They actually once said, I think it was the first Saudi Arabia show, they said, we would like Yokozuna and the Ultimate Warrior to make appearances. And then WWE was like, well, they both died many years ago. So we don't know what we're going to tell you there. And they literally put someone else in face paint and hired a sumo wrestler to come in, not to play those characters, but essentially to play those characters.
Yeah.
Like they didn't call them that, but everyone knew it was happening there. So I hate that relationship. I wish it didn't exist. Even the way that like they treat it like, oh, look at these women like making history over here and showing girls what you could do. They still make the women cover up in a certain way and separate the crowd in a certain way where it's like, it feels more like they're trying to like show something than actually make change.
Yeah. What about the stuff? Remember when John Cena had to apologize to China?
That was fucking weird. I think that's more, I also think that's more John Cena than like wrestling or WWE. Yeah. Like I don't know if I should say he loves like that relationship, but like for movies, obviously he loves that he has a Chinese audience going to Bumblebee and whatnot. That was weird though. Yeah, he said Taiwan wasn't a country.
Yeah, he said like that he was talking about Taiwan, and then
he said it was a country, and then he had to apologize for it, right?
I think he just mentioned Taiwan in passing. He was like, "Yeah, we have a show in Taiwan," and then he like apologized to China for saying China like it wasn't China.
And that was a thing for years that Cena was like learning Mandarin every night. He would dedicate like an hour a night to learning Mandarin just to expand his global audience.
That viral video of him is so funny. Of him
just speaking Mandarin.
Being chilling with the ice cream.
He had a crazy schedule too. Like when you go in for a tryout at WWE, I don't know if they still do this, but years ago, they would just lay out John Cena's schedule in front of you and they'd be like, do you want this? This is your future. You sleep for 4 hours a night. You do media for 2 hours a day. You do workouts for 2 hours a day. You do Make-A-Wish for 1 hour a day. Like you do meal prep and then you get in the car and you drive to the next city.
He's doing his own meal prep.
I don't know if, probably not, but yeah. But his schedule, I remember specifically them being like, he sleeps 4 hours a night and being like, holy shit, I don't want that life.
How do you think, remember, a story from WWE that always interests me, but I don't have much of the inside like info on, the Chris Benoit story.
Oh yeah.
Like,
way to really give us a turn
Oh my
here,
God!
Bill.
What the
No,
biggest
we're
downer
talking-
you could ever come up
we're
with?
talking wrestling. I want to hear like.
You want to hear me say Chris Benoit killed his wife and kid?
No, like what? Like how did they handle that? Wasn't there something?
Yeah, it almost
back-
took the WWE down pretty much. Like,
that's what I want. Like I want to hear about how they like dealt with it.
I don't know about this story. Tell me about this story.
So
what is
Chris
what is
Benoit was a wrestler for the WWE. The Rabid Wolverine, he was called. He was this short, stocky guy who everyone loved. He was like a fan favorite, and diehard wrestling fans were like, that guy knows how to wrestle. He also had a huge underdog story, like won in the main event of WrestleMania, very similar to like the story I described with Daniel Bryan. And then one day didn't show up to work, and the next day it came out that he killed his wife and child and then killed himself in a murder-suicide. Like the craziest shit you could imagine. This almost took the WWE down because they started looking into his brain and saying this guy had a ton of concussions and he was also loaded on steroids.
Yeah.
Like in the late stages of Benoit's life, his body is scary to look at. The veins popping out, the way he pops out of his tights, like it was scary. So Vince and other wrestlers, like retired wrestlers, were going on CNN and Fox News and NBC and basically every news platform you can and being said, like having to defend professional wrestling. Like this didn't happen because he took so many blows, or this didn't happen because he took steroids. This just happened because he went crazy. And then you have Chris Benoit's friends who were like, something had to have caused a snap because he was the greatest guy in the world for years. So it was a huge thing. Like eventually, I guess it kind of like faded away.
Did they find any reason for it? It was just random?
Like
Or,
they did brain scans and he definitely had CTE and he definitely was loaded on steroids. So people pointed to roid rage or CTE being the reason behind it. But there was never like, I guess, a conclusive, like this is why he snapped.
Probably steroid psychosis.
Possibly.
Like, and something, if you load someone up with like a ton of testosterone.
Billy has cracked the case, y'all.
Yeah.
No, but like there's been recent events of people being pumped full of testosterone, committing crazy violent acts.
So,
Like-
and something we mentioned before, which hopefully will make this conversation take a lighter turn. Vince McMahon once killed himself on TV. Like the ending of Monday Night Raw once was Vince McMahon going out to his limo, getting in the limo, and the second he gets in, the limo explodes.
I remember watching that live.
It was shocking. I remember watching it live as well. Stories came out that I think they did it in Connecticut or something. Everyone in the arena apparently called the police and was like, Vince McMahon just died. Like, you need to get ambulances and fire trucks to the arena immediately. Donald Trump called the WWE headquarters to offer his condolences to Vince. Like, crazy shit. Chris Benoit kills his wife and kid like 2 days later. So Vince McMahon has to go on television.
Was it really?
Yeah, he has to go on television right after he, quote unquote, died and said, hey, I'm alive. That was a storyline, and this is not a storyline.
That's crazy. I didn't know those were at the same time.
Also, a horrible aspect of it, they were in the middle of a Chris Benoit tribute show when the news came out that it was a murder-suicide.
Oh,
Initially, they were like, Chris
Really?
Benoit died. Let's do a tribute show and talk about how great of a guy he was. And like, literally, like Raw was on at 9 to 11. At like 10 p.m., it was like murder-suicide.
Wow.
Jesus. Is there any
No, there is no footage, Billy. I don't know why you would want to see it.
No, like of them finding out.
No, I don't think so.
Like Jesus Christ.
Crazy shit, though. Yeah, that was a bad time to be a wrestling fan.
I had no idea about any of that. That's wild. Well, damn, man. So what is the we got to wrap up here in a second, man, but what is the future do you think of wrestling? Like where does it go from here?
Wrestling is in an amazing spot right now because it's not just the WWE. You have AEW out there, which I don't know if you've heard of, All Elite Wrestling. Cody Rhodes basically in 2016, the son of Dusty Rhodes, felt like he wasn't in a good spot. He was stuck in the mid-card. They were giving him a gimmick that was very much like Goldust. I don't know if you remember Goldust. That's his half-brother. So they basically made him Goldust 2. And he was like, fuck this. He was making great money, but he wasn't happy. So he left. He linked up with Tony Khan, who, you know, his father owns the Jaguars, hooked up with the Young Bucks, and they started an alternative company, basically being WWE's first true quote-unquote rival since WCW. And now they're not a rival in the sense that they'll never put WWE out of business. It's $1 billion thriving business. But they're a real alternative for wrestling fans who maybe don't want such a family-friendly side of wrestling. You can tune into AEW, see blood. You could see people say shit. You could fuck, you could like, it's a lot more adult centered. And you've also got the indies out there, and you've got such great access to Japanese wrestling and British wrestling, which is as good as it's ever been as well. There's like different styles all over the world. So Japanese, a little harder hitting, British, a little more grappling. And there's just so much accessibility in wrestling that I really think it's like right now is the best time to be a wrestling fan in my lifetime.
Wow. That's wild, because I didn't even know that shit was still going on. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, we got to get you to a show. I think you would love a live show.
I'm definitely going down to go, man. I'm getting my live appearances up.
I
man.
brought Caleb to a
my
live show last
experience-
year, and he was over the moon. He was like, "This is fucking amazing." He never had any interest in wrestling.
In my experience, Aaron, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Arian has liked everything I've ever been to him with that was in person.
Oh yeah,
Like
you'll love
hockey.
wrestling.
Arian loved baseball in person. Arian really loved.
Baseball.
I think wrestling would be the same.
The
That could
number
be-
one
Yeah.
thing in person that when I take people to their first wrestling show, which has happened a bunch at this point, Glennie, Caleb, Feidelberg, so many people, they cannot believe how hard the wrestlers are hitting each other and landing in real life. They're like, holy shit, I thought this was fake. And it's like, it is, but they're getting hurt out there. And you're just watching them put their bodies on the line to do, a flip off the top rope through a table. And then someone comes in with barbed wire and scrapes their forehead and there's blood everywhere. Like, how could you not be entertained by that?
That could be
I'm
part of
definitely-
your
I'm
guys'
definitely
video
down.
series.
Yes.
Be good.
Oh,
Yeah,
an indie show.
definitely.
If I brought you guys to an indie, like a punk rock wrestling show, you guys would be like, what the fuck are we? You got to get out of the way so people don't dive on top of you.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Is that like the Peter Parker thing? Remember that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're bringing to one of those.
I'm definitely down for one of those.
Yeah.
I'm definitely down for one of those. Yeah.
That made
me
me
know.
think wrestling was real because I saw Spider-Man. I was like,
Yeah,
this has
he
to
had
be
to win the
real.
match to get the money. Yeah.
Like when Spider-Man got thrown in one of these, like what?
Yeah.
He would have known it was
And
fake.
you know who he was against, right?
Who?
It's Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yes.
Playing
Oh,
Bonesaw.
shit, yeah.
He said, Bonesaw is
Bonesaw.
ready.
I meant to wear my
forgot about
Macho Man
Bones,
Randy
though.
Savage shirt today, and I forgot. I've got a sick Macho Man shirt. I'll show it to you later.
I bet you do, man. Well, shit, man. We appreciate having you on, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate
thanks
I'm a
for
fan
having
of macrodosing, so it's an honor to be on for the first time.
Much love, man. Much love. Yeah, a wealth of knowledge, brother. I mean, where can people? I mean, do we plug you?
Yeah, My Mom's Basement's my
Yeah.
show. We talk about wrestling sometimes. We talk about nerdy shit. We talk about music. We kind of talk about anything under my passions. But check out My Mom's Basement on YouTube.
An amazing interview with Conor McGregor. One of the best
Oh,
Conor
thanks.
McGregor interviews I've ever seen was on My Mom's Basement with Robbie.
That's awesome of you to say.
Honestly, probably like the most personable Conor McGregor has ever seemed in media ever.
Pretty down to earth, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Arian, Robbie is on the #1 ranked dozen team right now, so he is your.
Oh yeah,
competition.
that's true. We're on the honkers.
Yeah.
Oh, so fuck you then.
Yeah.
Hope we see you soon,
That's
brother.
right.
We on the come up. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming in, though, brother.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so PFT came up with a really good idea. He had to shake. He's teaching some senior citizens some golf or something like that. But he came up with a really dope idea. And so he had everybody come up with a character, a wrestling character for everybody else on the pod. And I did him, he did me, and Big T and Billy did each other. Did y'all do each other, Maddie McKenzie?
I didn't. Did you, Mackenzie?
Did you?
No, did you?
I thought of
Oh,
it, but I don't have like
damn.
an exact.
Okay.
I could say my couple ideas
Yeah.
that I have.
I have a couple
didn't-
ideas, but I
But
don't.
I don't
have
Y'all
have.
didn't
I
do
don't.
your
I don't know
homework.
all of this stuff
Unreal.
that you guys did.
Unreal.
So no one
I
did
didn't
their
either.
homework?
I just
No, I
Yeah.
did it, but I don't know about wrestling that
Yeah,
much. So
I
I
don't
could,
even know what I could
I
do.
could say what was in my
Same.
head, but
same. I'll start with mine because it's gonna be so underwhelming because I'm not really good at understanding wrestling. So I did PFT, and should we just read his for mine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do what
Okay.
PFT sent.
All right. So PFT sent this for me. He said, "I am a socialist wolf hunter who slices up all of the opponent's title belts and distributes them to the audience." And so mine for him was I gave him an intro song. Have y'all ever heard "The Weight" by the band?
Yes. Yes, that's
Right.
perfect.
So his backstory is he's like a rebel hippie stoner that fights corporate corruption, and his finishing move is flying high off the ropes. That's what it's called, and he just jumps off the ropes. I don't know, and does some cool shit. I don't know enough about it, but and his outfit would be all tie dye, but the pants because I don't want to see his drawers. So just tie dyes and black boots. Fire.
Hell yeah.
So I've got Billy. Billy Football is still his name in this because that's actually a good wrestling name also. So his backstory is he was kicked out of the NFL for being too hardcore, so he had to come be a wrestler. And his entrance music is "Ba Witta Ba" by Kid Rock. And part of his storyline is that he sometimes just doesn't show up to the fights. So you never actually know when he's on the card if he's gonna be wrestling or not. And then his finishing move is called the Embellisher.
Nice.
Hey yo, fuck that. You gotta do everybody, dog.
Yeah, yours is way better than any of ours would have
You
been.
gotta do everybody.
I got one.
You should have been last.
Let me do Big T.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
Big T is also Big T.
I actually was thinking when we were doing this, I was like, we all kind of have names that would be good wrestling names.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you would change.
I don't.
Yeah.
You have Bobby
Yeah.
Fino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Mad Dog
All right, shoot,
2020.
So
Mad
Big
Dog 2020.
So Big T, his entrance is Rocky Top.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a little
Okay.
obvious. His outfit is, Kane's outfit when he has the mask. That outfit without the mask, but orange with an orange visor. And his finishing move is the Big Taint Buster.
Can you explain that? Billy really loves that.
Yo, he's cracking himself up. Like,
No, because I have it in my head what he does. He picks,
well, go let us know,
he's
man.
got two finishes.
Please reenact.
He picks the person up and then he just drops them on his knee.
Billy is really proud of this.
Why are you so? Why is this so? It's funny to me because it's so funny to you. I'm trying to.
Have y'all seen
understand.
the TikTok of the kid? It's the kid from Lizzie McGuire, and he's going to the premiere of some movies. Like, I'm really looking forward to cracking up.
yeah.
I haven't cracked up in a while. I really want to crack up tonight.
And then he like part of his routine is he just like he does at our live shows. He goes into the crowd and he just owns the libs by finding them and owning them.
Lib detector test in an arena would go crazy.
and he does long monologues about what pisses him off about the country. I think it would be a great character.
I think WWE needs a little social commentary character from the other side right about now.
That's hilarious.
Taint Buster.
Big T, I think you should do everybody, bro. Next episode, you should do everybody.
I'll see. Yeah, I'll try to come up with one for you and PFT.
And Maddie and Mackenzie, that shit would be funny as hell, dog.
Mine wouldn't be as funny as Big T's.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad I went first. Holy shit.
I thought it was pretty simple, but
Yeah.
You're a funny dude, bro.
I appreciate that. You are too.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah. So I think that's a good segue into we interviewed the legend Stone Cold. Really dope interview. PFT was there for it, and I don't know. It's just a really dope interview to interview a legend like that. So without further ado, here go the legend.
All right, we now welcome on a very special guest. It is Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mr. Austin, I had you came into the studio maybe a year and a half ago, and you sat down with myself and Big Cat. I don't know if you remember that. Big Cat gave you the shirt off his back. He tried to hand it to you.
I do remember that.
Yeah, it was a very fun interview. It was one of those pinch yourself moments for anybody that grew up in the 1990s watching wrestling. A living legend, Stone Cold, graced us with his presence. He's back on. He's on macrodosing right now, and we're talking to him about his new show, Stone Cold Takes on America. It premieres Sunday, April 30th at 10 p.m. Eastern on A&E. So I was doing some reading about this show. You're just driving around the country in an RV, meeting people? Is that, and they're challenging you to do stuff? Do I have that right?
Well, I mean, in the basic premise, yeah, I'm traveling around the country in an RV, but you've got to set up things, make arrangements for things to happen. So, yeah, I mean, we're looking at a schedule, but that being said, the way this show got put together, it got put together, real quickly. And when it finally well, it took a long time, and when it got greenlit, my wife and I were sitting there thinking, well, it's almost winter. Surely they're going to push until spring when the weather gets better. Now we're ready to go in November. And so, winters in my area of northern Nevada get pretty extreme. So there's a lot of arrangements, a lot of details that have to happen. Some of the stuff that was high on the adrenaline factor, you've got to set those things up in advance and book them. But yeah, it's me driving around the country with a crew of 12. And when we first started out, we was complete strangers.
Yeah.
But by the time we ended it, we'd become the best of friends. And we weathered a lot of storms, both good and bad.
That's what I love about RV life. Once a year, we go on a big trip. We used to do them all the time here, and we would get into a van or a RV, drive across the country, and by the end of it, we were like best friends with our bus driver, and he was like coming on our show, interacting with us. Being on the road with somebody, you learn a lot about him.
Hey man, absolutely. And like some of the times when things would get hectic, my crew would be looking at me, waiting for me to, I don't know, maybe they were looking for Stone Cold, the guy that they had remembered from the ring, and it's like, you're not worried about this? You're not angry? No, I said, this is what I've been in television business since 1990. I know things. It's a world of hurry up and wait. It's a world where things break down and go bad. And so why get stressed out when if you just remain calm, you're going to come to the solution at a quicker pace. So I grew up RVing my whole life. My dad took us on hunting trips. We went on vacations. My wife and I are avid RVers. We camp a lot, and so in the show, when I got pitched the idea for the show, the person who pitched it to me said, "Hey man, do you want to travel?" I said, "Well, I don't mind traveling, but if I'm going to travel, I want to drive rather than fly." And so I stayed every single night, other than one because of some weather issues we're working on. I lived in that RV for 5 months. I drove every single mile of every trip.
Oh, wow.
I was behind the wheel with my crew. I had 5 or 6 people in my RV. We had a production RV and a couple of vans and a couple of trucks following. But I drove every mile, and I loved every minute of it because if I got a steering wheel in my hand, I'm happy. I used to live the life, of a professional wrestler on the road. So it's a passion of mine, and I just figured I got paid to go out and do a bunch of badass activities and have fun.
That's the dream.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. So who was in charge of emptying the gray water on that RV? Was that you? It sounds like you take matters into your own hands.
Hey, here's the thing. When you go in, you plug in an RV park, or you're hooking up your hoses, you got your leather gloves. Plug in your power, hook up your sewer hose, plug in your water, and that's how I roll. So I didn't have anybody, nobody did that but me. And when I started talking to production, they said, "Hey man, you're going to be on the road. You need hair and makeup." And I'm like, "We want as few people working on this as possible because we want a streamlined effort." I said, "I don't need to be in a makeup chair." I said, "I ain't got no hair." I said, "As far as makeup, I know how to put on a little bit of a base layer, but that's as far as it goes. And then half the time I wouldn't even do that." So, you got to be self-sufficient. But I'm a hands-on guy. If you ask anybody on my crew, they'll say that Steve is low maintenance and I do my own thing.
I love that. Yeah, you're a man of the people, driving the RV, emptying everybody's shit out, doing what you got to do to
only my shit.
Oh, only yours.
Only my shit. I'm not going to go to the RV park and hook up everybody's gray and black marble lines. Only mine.
Did you ever hear that story? You probably have of the Dave Matthews tour band.
No.
All right. So the Dave Matthews Band, they were going on tour through Chicago, and they had this tour bus, right? Everybody on the band was staying there overnight. And at one point, they unloaded to do sound check or whatever. The driver of the tour bus drove out. You ever been to Chicago? You seen that river that they have that goes right through downtown? So the driver drives over that bridge, and the bridge has like these metal grates in the bottom, so you can see down to the water. He decides that's the place where he wants to empty out the sewage tank in the tour bus. Now, it's against the law to do that. You can't just dump shit into a water. So he takes the hose out. He empties 800 pounds of liquid sewage at the exact same time that one of those tour boats that takes architecture tours was going right under the bridge.
and it covered an entire bus or entire boat full of people with human shit out of the tour bus. It's one of the most disgusting stories of all time.
God dang. And if they thought their shit didn't stink, the people in the boat could have said otherwise.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad situation to find yourself in. So check out Stone.
Dude, that's about the nastiest story I've heard in quite some time.
Yeah, can you imagine? They took them back, and then so they take them back and unload them on the dock. And meanwhile, there's a tour group that's waiting to get on this boat. That's like, wait, what kind of boat ride did I sign up for here? So they had to hose everybody down, clean the boat out, and the boat went back out in a couple hours. I probably would have just called it quits for the day and say, okay, it's not for me if that's what happened to the previous
Well,
group.
the review would have been, hey, what'd you think about the tour? Oh, it was the shits.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this show and watching it because it sounds interesting. You've got people that are going to be challenging you to various things. It's like fans that see you. And I have to imagine that a lot of challenges that you get are like, hey, I dare you to chug a beer with me, that sort of thing.
The beer chugging never came into it, and I'm probably good. I probably would have been, at a high percentage of win on that, but it wasn't always about a challenge. It was a lot of invites as well of just things that I actually wanted to do and never got a chance to do. There was a lot of things that man, when I was in the wrestling business, I was so focused on just being number one. I let a lot of things just go by, and everything was white noise. I was just focused on what I needed to do to be me, be healthy. I worked when I was hurt. I worked injured because if you're not accountable, you'll go down to the bottom of the list. I don't care who you are because I've got to be able to rely on you. You never take yourself off the road. You never take yourself off a storyline. If I had a hobby, it disappeared because I was focused on the wrestling business. I trained a lot in the gym. Hey, I partied a lot too. I'm not recommending that to anybody, but that's a hard life to live. But the biggest thing you've got to do is be accountable. So, but it wasn't always about getting challenged to do stuff. It was getting invited to do stuff. And also, when you think of a show of this magnitude or of this type, it started off as just an idea. And I think when we went to camera, there were many different visions or versions of this idea in everybody's mind. And, for every idea that I had, networks got some ideas they want to have. So, there's got to be a give and take and a combination. So some of the things I absolutely loved. Some of the things where I'm a fish out of water, if I'm not stone cold or I don't have that protective armor, man, I'm really a pretty low key, humble or shy person. That's just my nature. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of things that were painful, but there was a lot of things that were cool too. The name of the show is Stone Cold Takes on America, and that has the marquee value to it. But I live my life as Steve Austin. So what you see when you see this is Steve Austin either kicking ass or struggling through some challenge or some activity.
I like it. Yeah, we were Arian and I were golfing the other day down in Houston, and somebody came up to him and said, "Am I playing golf with Bobby Fino or am I playing golf with Arian Foster right now?" That was kind of his version of Stone Cold and Arian. Or are you a Texans fan?
When Arian was playing, I was. Dude, I followed you, and here's the thing, because I never knew what happened to you after your football career ended. But I watched your entire NFL career. You're one of my favorite running backs. I never knew until I saw your name on the paper because I'm in my own world over here in the middle of nowhere. So I said, is that Arian Foster from the Houston Texans?
Yeah.
Arian, I followed your whole football career, and I'm not blowing smoke. I appreciated watching you play the game. I loved watching the way you played the game, and just your talents and the way you played the game of football. You wasn't a big celebration guy. Did your thing, and you were a team guy, and a tough as hell running back with hands. So I enjoyed your whole career, dude.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Getting flowers from a legend is there's not much you can say about that. Likewise, brother. I mean, you're a legend, so as long as we're exchanging roses, man, I appreciate everything you did. I do have a question for you, man. I knew of you growing up,
like how could you not? You know what I'm saying? Everybody grew up knowing. I didn't watch wrestling like that because we didn't have cable. And so we used to, go to the, neighborhood house, whoever had cable. And so I never, you're actually the first professional wrestler I've ever talked to. I take that back. I talked to The Rock one time, but it was never about wrestling. How do they, and I don't know how interested in this question or how much you get it. How do they, decide matches? You know what I mean? I never knew that. I never inquired about it. How do they go about that? Do y'all have any input, or what is the
influence that you would have is your talent and abilities in the ring, or some kind of X factor of charisma that they would see in you and think, hey man, this person ain't there yet, but this is a person that we can make money with. So the best way I can say is it's like a chess game, and they're booking the territories, we would call it back in the day. So like a classic old pre-WWE, WWF story, right, would be Vince McMahon at his house with Pat Patterson and maybe one other guy, and they've got a ledger of paper and they're booking the territory, and they're booking a year out. They're trying to, as long as someone doesn't go down with an injury, that's how far out they would like to book, a year to 2 out. And so it's all about who can make us money, who's ready right now, who do we need in the middle to help make guys on the way up. And it's like you're building a football team, right?
Right.
It's like if you go to the draft, okay, what do we need? We need running back, we need a tight end, we need a linebacker. Well, what do we need? We need a high flyer. We need someone who can just go out there and cut promos. What do we need? You look at what your needs are and you build. And when everybody talks about wins and losses, okay, we know what professional wrestling is. It's professional wrestling. But you book your talent according towards how can you rope people in on the storylines? How can you make things personal? When I was first in the business, I started off in Dallas, Texas, and I was driving a forklift, and I got into wrestling school. It was a once-a-week thing, very unorganized. 5 months later, I had my first match. 2 months later, I found myself in Nashville, Tennessee. A few weeks later, I found myself starving in Nashville, Tennessee, riding up and down the road with these veterans and trying to learn the business. And mister, you probably come from some lean times. When you're starving, literally, and your job is to draw people into that building, you learn how to pull emotions or affect people's emotions, because if you don't, you're not going to do very well for yourself. So you're forced to learn and learn how to do things to elicit a response, an emotional response from those people. And learning the business, you either get good, when you first get in, you learn mechanics, and that's 101. And then 201 is psychology. And then 301 is working either good guy or bad guy. So it's all encompassing of trying to put together a team or a roster that can win a Super Bowl, or you can take out on the road and draw crowds, draw money, and fill up arenas. When I first started in WWE, and I'll stop after this, buildings were about a quarter full. By the time I left, they were sold out any day of the week, every night of the week that we went out. And it's all about booking.
That's the thing that always interested. I think everybody, myself, I liken it like to, I don't know how much you listen to rap, right? Or just music in general, right? I would argue that you had one of the most successful brandings of all time, like how you branded yourself, right? Because that's like a lot of music I feel like is like that. You fall in love with the art and the artist, but you also fall in love with the branding behind that art and that artist, and they kind of become a character or even a caricature of themselves. So how did you craft Stone Cold? Like, how did that come about? Like I guess like the elevator pitch of how did you craft like one of the most successful branding, jobs of all time?
It was a work in progress, and it certainly wasn't overnight. When I started in Dallas and went to Tennessee, I started as Steve Williams. They changed my name to Steve Austin in Tennessee, and then they changed it to Stunning Steve. I'm over in Japan one night, and I jump off the top rope and I tear my tricep off my arm. So I wrestled 2.5 weeks with torn tricep. go back, get it reattached, get back in the ring after a few months of healing, and then I get fired. And so I go to a place in Philadelphia called ECW. And at that time, I'd have 7 years in the business, but I was known as what's called a mechanic, Arian. And a mechanic is a guy, I was respected by my peers because I could work. I could have a good match with anybody, but I wasn't a defined persona or gimmick or character stunning Steve Austin. It didn't mean anything. I wasn't stunning. Hell, my hair was starting to leave. I was like a ragamuffin. I wasn't the total package. When I went to WWE, they wanted to call me the ringmaster, the master of the ring. And they had this guy talk for me because they didn't think I could cut a promo. And then 6 months of that, it was going nowhere. And then so I was at the house and I was sitting there watching TV. It was late at night. And a special on a serial killer named Richard Kuklinski came on. The Iceman used to be a hitman for the mob.
It's a great doc.
And that guy was a cold-blooded dude. And I said, man, this is something I can identify with. Now, and when I say this, I'm not giving credit or admiring anything that the guy did. He gave me an idea in a world of good guys and bad guys or whatever. I said, hey, man, that guy, he doesn't give a damn. He's remorseless, and he's a killer. Well, that explains. I was a running back, Arian. I wasn't in your league, but I was a running back in high school, and I played linebacker, and I had a killer instinct. If I was going to hit you, I was going to hit you as hard as I could. If I had the football, I wasn't fast enough to run east or west, so I ran north and south. So I finally took, that mindset, and with what Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman, had done, and I pitched this idea to the office, and they came up with a bunch of temperature-based names. I'm like, man, it ain't about a temperature; it's about an attitude. Anyway, my wife came up with the Stone Cold name over a glass of tea, and she goes, "That's your name, Stone Cold Steve Austin." And so I pitched this idea to the office. And at the time, I still had a buzz haircut from watching Pulp Fiction when Bruce Willis had that buzz haircut. And then I didn't have the look yet. And I still had, my gear wasn't right. And we were working in Pittsburgh one night. And I said, dude, I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, well, nobody can identify with this. What are you doing? You look like crap. So I shaved my head. I didn't have the goatee yet. So I started growing in the goatee. And then when they started putting the microphone in front of my face because they got rid of my manager, Ted DiBiase, all due respect, a great talent, they let me start talking. And I was so pissed off at the time for all the bureaucratic BS and red tapes and people not thinking I could ever be a star. I just started cutting promos and talking all the trash that I grew up in South Texas hearing. And all of a sudden, people took notice, and Stone Cold Steve Austin as an entity started gaining momentum. Now, I was a bad guy, and I was beating the trash out of people, and just talking trash while I was doing it. And there came a point where I became so cool because I was talking so much shit that people started liking me. So they put me in a match against Bret the Hitman Hart, one of my favorites of all time, where Arian, I went into that match as a bad guy. Bret went in as a good guy. By the time the match was over, I was the good guy, and Bret was the bad guy. And then it just took off because I didn't really change what I was doing. I just kept talking shit and, started flipping people off. And no one had been really using the middle finger on television because it wasn't the friendly thing to do. And at the time, my good friend Diamond Dallas Page was holding up a diamond cutter sign, and everybody threw up that diamond cutter sign. I remember being at television. I was fixing to go out live on TV on Monday Night Raw, and Vince McMahon comes up to me and he goes, Steve, I see that you always, using the middle finger. It's not that great. He goes, is there something that you can do that everybody can do with you? And I looked him dead in the eye, and I didn't hesitate, and I just said, no. And I kept flipping people off, and we rode those middle fingers to sellouts all across the nation and wherever we went. So, but it was a grassroots effort, Arian, to take me, I'm a good mechanic, decent athlete, not the most graceful athlete. And I was more of a wrestler trying to model my career after Ric Flair, the greatest of all time, in my opinion, as more of a wrestler. When I got pile drived in 1997, I was a transit quadriplegic for about a minute. When I came back from that injury, I knew I had to change my style. Ultimately, I had a 3-4 fusion. had to turn into a brawler. When I turned into a brawler, along with the attitude and along with the 7.5, 8 years of learning that I had, everything came together. And with the power of the WWF strapping a rocket on my back, that's when I caught traction and just shot to the next stratosphere.
What a story. What a story. That's great. I wish we had more time with you. I think we have a hard out here at 2:00, but I know Big T's got some, you got some like rapid fire questions you want to ask?
Yeah, these can go quick. Mr. Stone Cold, pleasure to talk to you. I don't know if you know this. You seem kind of like a pretty badass dude for the most part. So what's something that just scares the hell out of you that people wouldn't expect?
I'm not a big fan of heights.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate
myself.
The heights, it's perspective. Like if I'm on the edge looking down and I got a chance to fall, that scares me.
Yep.
If I'm on top and just looking from way back, I'm cool. But if I'm on the edge looking down, I ain't a big fan of heights.
I agree with you.
Also, just one more thing. You've had a podcast. Now, Arian's played football. You've wrestled. The rest of us here have done neither of those things, but we can appreciate the difficulty of podcasting. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to say if hosting a podcast is maybe more difficult than being a professional wrestler or something like that.
You know, what I found out in life is what you do the most of, get the most reps at, you become good at. I remember back when I podcasted, I stopped podcasting about 3 years ago. And, but when I started, I got a call from Podcast One. I was down there in LA and they knew who I was. And they said, "Hey man, you can come down here and have a meeting with us and do a podcast," because they knew that I could talk. And I said, "Sure, I'll go down there." We come to an agreement and I go to this studio where, you know, this guy who can really cut a promo is going to start a podcast. And boy, there we started. And about 7 minutes later, I ran out of gas. I didn't have nothing else to talk about. I hadn't done enough work. I hadn't prepped enough. Didn't have anything to talk about. And so I found out right then that podcasting was going to be much like my wrestling career. First time I get to Memphis, Tennessee, they say, "Hey kid, you're the first match. Go out there and give us 8 minutes." And I'm thinking, I'm fresh out of wrestling school. What do I do for 8 minutes? Hey man, podcasting is what you make it. And the more prepared you are, the easier it's going to be. And as you guys know, as long as you've been doing it, you're better now than you were when you started. So I would say the difficulty level is equally the same, because whatever you start at, you're green at. But whatever you do the most, if you're showing up every day, putting in the work, that's what you become good at.
Yeah, is it a fair point? And also, like when you're coming from a wrestling background, you don't have, you know, you're used to having the feedback of a live crowd telling you what's working, what's not working. With the podcast, it's like you sit down, you record it, you ship it off, and then it comes out a couple days later, and you don't have that instantaneous feedback, which I'm sure is different than what you're used to.
I think Stone Cold just told me I could be a professional wrestler.
I think he said that. If you get enough reps in, Big T.
Yeah.
If you get enough reps in, you can do it. Billy, rapid fire questions.
Which cast and movie did you have more fun making? The Expendables or The Longest Yard? Two of my favorite movies.
Well, I mean, I had a small part in either one of them. I'm not a big fan of fighting for camera because I find it difficult. Like wrestling is like a dance because you just know. You don't plan it, you just do it. But the Expendables versus what?
The Longest Yard.
Hey, man, Adam Sandler was so cool. Got a chance to meet Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise. The part about The Longest Yard was, at the time, I think it was about 275. And when they offered me the part, I didn't know that I was going to be a running back. And I hadn't run in a minute, right? And I'd been in the gym like crazy. And then all of a sudden, I find out that I ain't got a stunt double. And I start running through those tires. Aaron, when you hold a football like that, you run through the tires.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't prepare for that either. I'd just been a gym rat, no cardio. So we filmed the Expendables in Brazil and then New Orleans. But I'd go, it's almost a tie because Sylvester Stallone was great to work with. Adam Sandler is the single nicest guy I met in L.A. So, tie.
All right, Bill, you got another one?
What I expected.
One last question.
Did anyone ever challenge you to like a 999, 9 hot dogs, 9 innings, 9 beers challenge yet?
I never heard of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty big challenge. If you ever make it to Yankee Stadium, want to do it, it's a great American challenge.
Are you officially challenging him, Bill?
I might be
I
challenging.
haven't heard of that either.
9 hot dogs,
I
9
do.
I
beers.
want to do that.
You go to a baseball game and you try to eat 9 hot dogs and drink 9 beers in 9 innings.
See, here's where I'm at, and I think in anyone's life, there's certain windows of time where there's an opportunity where you would like to do these things. Maybe if you'd have caught me in my 30s, I say, hey, bring it, because in my 30s or whatever, dude, I was bulletproof. I could do anything. I was almost bionic, it seemed. But where I'm at right now, I'd say, you do it, I'll watch, and I'll drink my beer.
That would honestly be
awesome.
that would be a challenge in and of itself to just hang out with Billy while he's drunk over the course of a baseball game.
Absolutely.
Most people would not survive that challenge.
Many have and enjoyed it.
It doesn't sound like a fun challenge.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us. We'll have to have you back on again sometime because I really enjoyed talking to you and hearing you and Arian, just meet as peers in a way. So you can check out Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stone Cold Takes on America. Premieres Sunday, April 30th at 10 p.m. on A&E. Sounds like you had a great time. Sounds like you met a lot of great people, and sounds like you had a lot of great stories afterwards. So looking forward to it.
Hey, man, appreciate you guys. And I know you guys talk about some interesting topics. So hit me back when you got something that I can delve into, because like right now, I just like for people to watch the show, but it sounds like you guys talk about some interesting things.
What are you into? Like, what are your personal, do you do a lot of reading?
No, I'm not a big reader. I'm reading an old Gary Hart book right now. I just kind of watch a few things at night. I don't watch a lot of television because my show's not on television yet.
I got it. Give us one like conspiracy theory that you like. Hey, I don't know, but I'm just saying it might be
The moon.
the moon landing.
We can do a moon landing episode if you want to come.
I'll leave it there.
I got you.
All right, we'll do
I got
I'll leave it there. How's that?
That's good.
moon
That's
landing
good.
episode
That's
with
good.
Steve Austin coming soon. We'll definitely be back in touch. We'll plan this out. All right. All right. You have a good
Oh,
one,
see ya,
man.
brother.
Take care.
Take care, brother.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a good one.
See ya.
Yes, sir. All right, that was Stone Cold, the legend. I'm excited to see if he'll come back to do the moon. That would be dope if he came back.
He seemed like he had some strong opinions.
Yeah, right. He didn't want to let it. He didn't want to let it out.
moon.
The moon. I ain't saying, but I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, good dude, man. Fun to talk to. Yeah. So that wraps up today's episode. I hope y'all enjoyed it. It was fun. I learned a whole hell of a lot. I don't know really shit about wrestling. Really dope topic though. Part of America that I feel like it's a pretty big part of America actually, man. That North Korea shit was really enlightening as well. But if anybody doesn't have anything else, man, that will wrap up the episode. Y'all got anything? Billy, you still cracking up about that shit, bro. That shit is hilarious.
I'm just trying to find a similar move. It's kind of, imagine the choke slam backbreaker, but instead of their back landing on their knee, it's just their taint.
Good
Holy
stuff.
shit, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think Billy just
Are you
wanted
high,
to
Billy?
say taint.
Yeah, Billy's high.
Big taint buster.
It's like a child that just figured out he can curse.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's so hilarious in my head, but it's not true.
I'm gonna find the clip of the kid being like, "I just want to crack up."
Yeah.
That is
Really looking forward to
that is-
cracking up.
That is literally Billy right now.
Watch
Holy shit.
watch Draft Day this weekend, starring Arian Foster.
Yeah.
Please, I will screenshot one of the residuals I got for that the other day. They come in every so often, and it's like $4 or some shit like that. But I do get residuals, so y'all run up the numbers, man. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Run that shit up.
also, the next time we record, our friend Hendon might be an NFL player.
He will be.
will, yeah.
It's a
Or he
matter.
will.
Yeah, he'll definitely get
So-
drafted.
Hopefully, he's drafted tonight.
Yeah.
This draft is tonight.
Well, tomorrow.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
Thursday,
Oh,
Friday,
Thursday.
Saturday.
Draft day.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. Oh damn. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even know.
So good luck
Well,
to Hendon.
good luck to Hendon. Hope he goes high. Go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
last
Go
thing I
ahead,
want to
Billy.
mention about wrestling. There's one of the first wrestlers ever, George Hackenschmidt, invented the bench press and hack squat. and he's like, this was back when everyone was natural.
And Billy
this
prays
dude-
to him every morning.
No, he is this like look up George Hackenschmidt. He had a really interesting life, and I think he may have been the guy that punched Houdini and killed him. Wait, let me look that up.
I mean, it's easily verified. Why wouldn't you verify that before
I
you
know.
say the
Shoot
fact?
first,
I
ask
don't
questions
understand.
later.
Oh, never mind.
Ask
Jay-
for forgiveness.
Jay Gordon and Whitehead. George Hackenschmidt was Houdini's friend.
I
Though.
don't understand how your brain works, bro. I really try. How do you fact check yourself?
No, because I just remember Houdini was killed by one of his friends who punched him in the stomach. And if there's any of his friends,
How did you connect those two without seeing it first?
no, because
Like,
they were
how are
friends. I read that they were friends,
And you connected it.
and I connected. I was like, this is the only guy who could kill a man with a punch that could be friends with Houdini. So I don't know who else could have killed.
Holy shit,
Houdini.
Billy. You are a special breed, man. That is for sure. Love you, man. All right, y'all. That does it for today's episode. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, hit the bell. Much love, y'all.
Mm.